you guys doing? Welcome to another live stream. This is not the official live streaming channel. To go to that one, check the description. Also, I want you guys to call in today. This is when you guys, I know when you see the question, it's a question and it's not an admonishment. I've spoken to a lot of people, right, on the ground outside of America. People have reached out to me from within America as well. And what I wanted to do was provide a platform in the form of this live stream where people can call in and just give their take on, what's taking place. People within the USA and people without as well. The link again is in the description. Grab the link. Come on. Let's have a discussion. I want multiple people at the same time. So if you want to call in, you want to give your take, please do not hesitate. Do so. I did a documentary in 2019. Some of you guys may have seen it. The link to that is in the description as well. And the reason that came about was that a lot of people asked, not a lot of people asked. When I asked them the question, why, this country, why that country, you guys may have seen the documentary. The link is in the description. As I said, the vast majority of people, right, especially those from America, said safety. That was one of the reasons why they moved. So this question that I'm asking right now, right, as I said, it's not an admonishment. I'm not telling people to do this or do that. It's to provide a platform where people can come on and vent, share their position, right? Since all this has taken place and we know it's nothing new, people have said to me, you see, that's why when people are asking me if I'm coming back, I'm not coming back, I'm not going back. This is why I'm not there. This is why I'm not there, right? People are asking, you know what, I need to leave, I need to leave. So these are things that have happened all the time. I'm receiving messages and I've had multiple discussions. So this, again, I want to say, because I don't want people to say I'm telling people to do this or do that. The question is to provide a platform, right? It's to provide a platform. It's a question that's posed. I'm not admonishing this. I'm not saying leave your home. I'm not saying that. But I've had so many discussions, so I felt like this was a question that I could pose and have you guys come on so that those who are watching, those who want to chime in, can get a better feel of the climate or the mindset of people right now, to understand what's going on or taking place in the minds of people. That's the reason. So because I understand I have this platform and I want to use this platform as always for a force for good, as you guys know, that's my purpose, that's my position. So that's why I've decided, you know what? Let me do this. Let me put this question out there and let people call in who are actually right now in America, those who are outside of America as well, who of course are Americans and they want to share, give their position and their take. Because of course, you guys know I'm a Jamaican, right? Some of you guys are not sure. They're like African or Caribbean or whatever, but I'm Jamaican, right? But as I've said before, right, seeing these things over and over again, you've seen the spoken word, you've seen the live stream I've done before, it hurts my heart. Right. And I'm saying to myself, do I remain silent? And I'm not one to remain silent. Right. I'm just like, you know what? I'm not going to remain silent. I got to say something. I got to do something, whatever. I don't know what I can do. Will it make a difference or not? I'm not sure, but I need to try something, right? To use this platform for a force for good in some way, shape or form. So I'll try to do whatever I can. And as I said before, when I saw that video, and it's not just the only, George is not the only person. There are many people. And this has happened time and time again. And every time I see it, I feel the pain in my heart, as it could be my relative, it could be myself, someone really close to me. So I'm not just, just saying things to say it. I feel the way I feel when I see these things. I'm enraged. So with this live stream right now, there are a few people online right now. I think about at least 6 people, right? That's the maximum, I believe, for for this for like discussion or whatever. So I'm gonna put them on. It's actually more than 6 actually. Guys, if you can turn on your camera, that would be appreciated. Those who have their cameras on will be prioritized. Just so you know. So I'm gonna start. I'm not gonna say anything more. I'm gonna get people on right now and we're gonna start talking. So the first person I see Byron. Hold on, Byron. Let me put Hassan as well. Let's see. Is this where I can do it? Okay, so that's 2 people. Hold on. Make sure that you have headphones or that YouTube is muted so that I don't hear my voice. Okay, so we have Delroy as well. Let's see. Hold on, guys. I'm getting some. Okay, this person is Gara Loren. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Twin. That's I think that's it. So we got. So for those of you guys who are waiting, just wait in the queue. I'll get you on just now. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 people. So yeah, guys, I want you guys just
we can't hear
start
you.
chiming in. What was that? Can you hear me?
Hello?
Yeah, we can't hear you.
Yes, hello?
You can't hear me?
now?
I mean,
hold on. Let me just make sure the thing's working properly. Okay, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, I can hear you, Doc.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, you guys don't hear me for some reason. Wait, let me see what the guys are saying in the comment section. Guys, can you hear them? Can you hear them okay? Hold on, guys, I want to make sure that this is...
I can hear you.
You guys sound really low, but let me see what the people who are watching are saying. Guys, can you hear the callers okay? Okay, can you hear me?
Yeah, a little bit, but you're going in and out, but just a little bit. Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah, for some reason it sounds.
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, you guys are okay. People are saying yes, so I guess we can start talking. Wait. So okay, yeah. For some reason, okay. So my wife is in the sound is okay. So you guys can start talking. So we got 5 people on. So when someone is talking, just give them the time to talk, express themselves, and then you can chime in afterwards, right? We don't want like everyone to be talking at once. So you guys can start talking.
Yeah.
So Byron, go first.
Yo, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, how y'all doing, family? Everything good?
Good, bro. Well, as good as not really that good, but we're okay.
I mean, I'm just checking on the family.
Yeah.
Man, you know what? I've grown up here in Memphis, but I've also lived around the world, man. My stepdad played professional ball way back in the day, so I got to travel to different places like Italy. We stayed in the Philippines for a while, so I have been to Southeast Asia. But one thing I can say, as somebody who's born and bred from over here, and especially from where they killed Dr. King at, nah, man, we can't leave because this is our land, and I'm gonna tell you why. First and foremost, we're the only non-immigrant group here. Period. We didn't immigrate. Black Americans were foundational to here, so it ain't time for us to leave. Yeah, of course you should travel, get out there, spread your wings, do what you do, experience life, man. But nah, we can't sit here and back down because it's up to us to change this white supremacist system that we live under. We have to be the soldiers out here in the streets doing our thing. I wish it was a place we could go to on this planet that we're not affected. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. But we are. And as you see over there in China, they kicking Africans out on the street, not letting them go into the hospital, not letting them go to places to eat. They literally have nowhere to go. So, we have to fight white supremacy. We got to fight other non-white people who are anti-black. We got our work cut out for us. But nah, we got to stay here and fight this thing, period. So me, as a black man in America, every day I go out, I'm in a war zone. I understand this could be my last day, so I have to mentally prepare myself to go to war. I mean, I've had guns in my face from the police, the sheriff. I've seen them beat people up, you know what I mean, and barge in our homes without warrants. You know what I'm saying? We're basically we're in a big prison system. It looks like you got freedom, but you ain't got no freedom. They treat us like prisoners. You know what I mean? So we got to do what we got to do to protect our lives. And it's a lot of people who don't feel like that, but at the end of the day, hey, man, we've been peaceful for way too long. And that's just what it is. You dig what I'm saying? So I'm going to let you, respond to that.
Right.
All right. So, okay. So, guys, chime in. I want you guys to have a discussion. So if you guys want to chime in, please state your name and then chime in.
I'm from California originally. I'm a truck driver at the moment. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. It's a bit muffled, but I can hear you. It's really low for some reason. I'm not sure why.
Okay, wait a minute, hold on. Hear me better now?
Yeah, sounds a little bit better. A little bit better.
Okay. I've been to countries in Southeast Asia. I've been to Thailand, Cambodia, Vietnam, Philippines, Bali, Indonesia. I've been to Korea. I taught ESL in Korea for a month, and then I went to Japan for a little bit, and that's my happy place.
Someone
I can say Asia is my happy place.
2 seconds. Someone has a radio on or a TV on or something. Could you please turn that off? Whoever that is, there's a radio on or something in the background. Can you turn that off or turn it down or something, please?
Not me.
Okay.
That's not me. I'm in my truck.
Man. Tell them to mute that mic.
Oh yeah, or mute your mic if you're not going to talk, and then once you start to speak, you just like unmute your mic. But continue.
I was just saying, I want to leave. If I had a residual income, if I had a passive income of, let's say, $5,000 a month or more, something like that, 4,000 or 5,000, 6,000, something like that, I would leave America, live outside of the country. I've been to countries in Africa and Europe, and nowhere in a civilized country do they do this to black people.
Understood, man. It's something I hear a lot. I'm not saying countries outside of the US are free and they're like problem free or whatever, but the vast majority of people I've spoken to, especially Americans overseas, one of the main draw is the safety they feel, the way they feel, the peace that they experience.
Yeah.
So I gotta say,
right now,
I've heard from people.
I just don't have the means to live outside of America. I understand what that brother from Memphis saying, and shout out to Memphis. I just came from out there. My uncle lives out there, so I hope he's stays safe, you know. But the cost to live out, I said, you know, how can I move to these areas when I don't have a significant income? Right now, I'm a truck driver, and I got to get down the road. And I've been driving through all these states for 6 years, and I'm like, where can I live and make the same amount of money that I do here in America? Where can I live? I mean, I love going to Asia. I love going to Southeast Asia, but I don't have the means to sustain myself out there. So yeah, if you want to stay and fight, I rock with you. If you want to build Africa up, you know, I rock with you. But you know, we're not going. How do we? It's tough to solve this issue. It is disheartening because we seeing these videos time and time again, and we living in Babylon. We living in a hostile land. This is not our land. This is land stolen from Native Americans, and you know we can't be looking for friends. That's played out to be looking for friends. We got to be able to stand on our own too. We need Africa to rise so we as blacks can be respected in the world. Part of this happens because we as Africans, the situation in China, really tore me up because I'm like, man, dang, what did we ever do to the Chinese? We do not have a development. We cannot expect somebody who's gonna build our house, come in and build our house to respect us. So I went to Ghana in December for a year return, and I was, I went there, spiritual, seeing the slave castle and all that, but it was disheartening because the lack of infrastructure. And I'm like, I cannot bring myself to want to live there, but I wanted to succeed. They need a proper waste management facility. I mean, it's not a fun. It wasn't a fun, happy place like Thailand, Cambodia, Vietnam, Philippines, Indonesia. It wasn't a fun place. But I watch you all the time, brother, and I'm supportive of you. I'm just like, how can I get an income? How can, everybody's not meant to fight. I mean, my brother out there in Memphis, if you fight with a cause, fight with a purpose. Don't just lose your life needlessly. Do not lose your life needlessly. Fight with tact. Fight with a purpose. Don't just be emotional about it. A lot of us are too emotional. I understand the protests. I understand the rioting, but at the end of the day, is it gonna get us justice if those cops who are directly involved don't get got? What are we doing? Same thing. So I want to move away from this land. I do. I'm with you. The thing is, how can I and other black folks sustain ourselves economically outside of America? That's the dilemma I face.
I would. I'd like to.
Okay, yeah, I want, yeah, you guys,
Can
yeah, I want you guys to talk. I want you guys to talk. So just talk. That's what this is for.
Oh yeah. Can you hear me?
I can.
Yeah, I hear you.
Can you hear me? Okay, awesome. Hi, my name is Henny. I currently live in Minneapolis, where all
Go
this is
closer to the
happening.
mic if you can. Come closer to the mic if you can.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
yes. Can you hear me now? Better?
A little bit.
Yes. So I'm currently living in this. Yeah. How about now? Like better? Better? Okay. Yeah. Awesome.
Yeah.
I'm currently living in the city where it's, can somebody mute their mic, because I can hear you. Okay, awesome. So yeah, I'm currently living in the city where everything is happening, and actually, where I live, my local grocery store has been completely wrecked. My local pharmacy has been wrecked, and what a lot of the people who are living outside of the city don't understand, it's not really the protesters who are ruining things and are rioting. We actually have people who have come outside of our city, outside of our state, to do like a lot of the rioting, a lot of the looting. Actually, a lot of the people that were arrested yesterday, they weren't even from here. So we have people who are just breaking things that aren't even from our city, that aren't even from Minnesota. So a lot of crazy things have been happening. Apparently there are white supremacist organizations that are here that are burning things. So a lot of the time the media makes it seem like it's like Black people and people that live here that are looting and like destroying our community, but it's actually not. We have a lot of weird outsiders inciting things. It's just been very, very bad time. But to really get to the depth of the question that you asked, I'm currently an undergraduate student. Ever since I was 14 years old, I knew that the United States was not a place that I wanted to live in. I do not want to live here. As soon as I finished my undergraduate degree, I went to get my degree in Germany because they offer a lot of free education there. I want to move to Germany. I want to move away from the United States. I have a plan. I'm trying to save up. Even before all of this, I feel like in America, a lot of people are finally, especially Black people, are waking to the idea that, America is not for us. But I've known since I was a young girl, like, this country, like, because I faced so much racial abuse at a young age, and I'm like, I don't want to live here. And there's anti-Blackness in every single country that you go to. Even in other Black countries, there's anti-Blackness. People.
So you couldn't out. I wanted to answer how to live outside of America.
I got an answer for that too. For y'all good.
Wait. So the guy with the glasses, your mic. I think your mic is muted. I see that your mouth is moving, but no audio. So unmute yourself. No, I think it is still muted. Like unmute yourself. Look on the screen. Delroy. Yeah, Delroy. Can you go? Oh, you're unmuted, right? But I can't hear you for some reason. So I'm not sure what's going on with you, Delroy, but I can't hear you. But guys, it's a discussion, right? So feel free to chime in whenever. For some reason, the connection is bad. Maybe it's because I have so many people on, because there are so many people in the queue, plus you guys that are on as well. So maybe that's why the audio sounds the way it sounds. But feel free to chime in, guys. Delroy, you need to address your audio.
Hey man, well look, I don't know if y'all if it's too many people on, but let me say this and I'll hop off so somebody else can get on, if y'all don't mind. To answer, I want to answer both of those, their brother and their sister. First and foremost, again, we keep saying that this country is not for us. Yeah, we've been mistreated since day one, but you have to realize that you are foundational Black American. You built this place before there was a country. You were the first people over here before everybody else, before 1619. Yeah. So what I need you to understand is this is your place. You built this. Your ancestors' blood is soaked in this land. And we have to remember that the only way that our ancestors got off those plantations, it wasn't because the North decided to free us. It was because we revolted. People like Nat Turner, you know what I mean? People who had these revolts and uprisings, they had to make these people get up off of us. Everybody doesn't have the means to leave, but as you said, being tactful, I'm very tactful with it. I'm not overly emotional. I actually am an online marketer, so you can make a lot of money on the internet. So if you choose to leave, hey, more power to you. I'm gonna support you on that all day. You can make a lot of money online. I make a lot of money through my iPhone, just understanding how to market online, like this brother with his YouTube channel. So it's a lot you can do if you want to get you some paper and bounce up out of here. Absolutely. And I also want to say that I know a lot of people who watch your channel, you know, we all dream about going to places like Japan. I love Japan. I'm studying Japanese now, but I know I'm a Black American, so I want to travel to have a house everywhere. And I know a lot of people who watch your channel really just kind of want to get up out of here, and that's okay. You know, you can do that. I'm going to support you, but, you know, it's going to take a portion of us to stay here and handle business and fund Black businesses and do what we have to do with economics. You know what I mean? Like, and if I go out here and these people pull me over, that could be my last day. I've been arguing with my family members about this. Like, look, man, you got to be serious. We have to get that warrior spirit in us right now. I'm not saying to go destroy things, because even in Memphis, we have a group here called Confederate 901 that was down there kicking up stuff. You know what I mean? So there are a lot of outsiders in every city that come through to agitate and instigate. But you got to be ready to defend against that. You got to see who these people are. You got to get them up out of here. Even if you got to use physical force, because like I say, man, they're killing us. And we have to be able to return the favor. I'm just going to say that, man, to protect our own lives. Because I'm not going to sit back and let nobody be murdered in front of me. And hey, man, y'all, you know, just putting a cell phone out. We just can't stand for that no more, because we'll never survive. I'm gonna leave y'all with this, man. If the Jews would have fought back sooner, millions of them would not have died. And before they even got them to the gas chambers, they had the firing squads. And before they did what they did to the Jews, they practiced on us. A lot of people don't know that. So I'm gonna just leave y'all with that. You know what I mean? So just y'all be safe. Handle business, protect yourself, man. And like I said, if you want to leave, hey, more power to you. You can work online and make a lot of money. I work with people who make tons of money on the internet through marketing, man. So just learn how to market online if you want to get some paper to get up out of here.
I respect, man. Delroy.
For sure.
Oh, wait. So Gara, wait, you want to finish your thought because you were speaking? Gara.
Yeah. So in general, I think Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, I feel like it's not just a Black American thing. If you're just Black living in the United States, I think the quality of life in the United States in general is not very good. A lot of people don't have health insurance. A lot of people are living paycheck to paycheck. And, you know, my family, they came here when I was 5 years old. My family is from East Africa, from Somalia. My family personally left because they were leaving a war. They were leaving a bad life. And that's why my family came to the United States for a better opportunity. And while I will say that I'm super grateful to all the opportunities I've had, for all the incredible people I've met, I just feel that life here is just, it's not up to par. It's the quality and how much people suffer. I had a conversation. I'll just do one more thing. I had a conversation with a coworker. He's from Nigeria, and we had this lovely conversation about like racism and experiencing racism in the United States, right? And we came to the conclusion, like, I would much rather live in a country that gives me good health insurance, where I can, if I become pregnant one day, I don't have to immediately go back to work. And I would rather have a country that's racist, but at least get good benefits. You know what I mean? At least I can live a better quality of life than in the United States. In the United States, I'm experiencing racism, and I have terrible, bad quality of life, and I can't get health insurance, and I can't find a good job. It doesn't make sense to me. So if any young people are watching this, I would definitely say there are so many opportunities. If you have a bachelor's degree, there's so many opportunities for you to live abroad. So do not limit yourself into thinking that you only have to stay in the United States or Canada or whatever other Western country that you're living in. You can find other opportunities elsewhere.
Okay. So wait, anyone else I saw just want to chime in?
Yo, y'all can hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, man.
So
What's going on?
Wait, Delroy, I don't know what's up with your mic, Delroy, but you probably need to disconnect the microphone. So if you're using a microphone, maybe you need to disconnect it and call back, or disconnect it and try to use like the computer or the laptop microphone.
Laptop.
Well, wait. Okay. So is this twin? What's
going on, man? I'm calling from New Jersey. What's going on, people? How y'all doing tonight?
We're here, man. We're here. What's up? What
So I think that I'm saying that's exactly what they want us to do. Like, they want us to pick up and leave, and you know what I'm saying? But we're not gonna do that. You know what I'm saying? Like, we was born here, most of us, right? Am I right?
Understood.
So what makes y'all think that we should just like break up and just leave? Like, that's exactly what they want us to do. Like, we gotta find out a solution. You know what I'm saying? How to stop this, even if it's like I know what they doing ain't right, like with the, you know, setting cars on fire, police stations. But if that's the only way that we could get like these people's attention, so they can understand us and understand that they can continue to, you know what I'm saying, keep doing this to our people. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
what do you guys think about that? Or do you think that it's we should just all just leave America? Does that y'all really feel that way? Like y'all really want to leave?
With Byron, what do you got to say, Byron? Because in the blue.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, what's the position?
For me, I'm young. I'm 21. I'm from Natchez, Mississippi, and I go to the University of Southern Mississippi. My degree is film, and to me, I always want to leave America, because it feels like I don't really belong here anymore, basically. And seeing all this violence, stuff like that, riots, the pandemic, it just feels like America just basically a shit show for a country, and just feels like if I just leave, it would get better. If I leave, I don't feel like I have to fight every day. If I leave, I don't feel like I always have to watch my back against other people. But the problem is, though, I don't want to leave my family behind, because if I leave them behind, what will happen to my dad, my mom, and sister? Like, if I'm across the world, I can't really get to them quickly. No.
Yeah. Yeah, man. So Twin was asking the question if the thing is, the reason I did this live stream is because I wanted you guys to talk, right? And I understand, you know, when I talk to people, you know, right across Asia, for instance, and you guys will reach out to me via messages. A lot of people either you want to leave, or those who have left talk about the way they feel, the difference, right? So I usually ask people, like, what's the main difference? Like, how do you feel? Why this country? Why that country? And safety keeps coming up. So all I can say is I can show you the experiences of other people, right? Whether it's Asia or Africa. Some people are in Africa as well. There are many stories of people in Africa, but I also can understand the position of remaining in your home country, right? It's your country,
Yeah.
right? But
Exactly.
I understand being there and fighting for what's yours. So I understand that position. So for me, I'm putting the question out there because I want you guys to talk, right? So you're talking amongst yourself. Other people are watching as well. So I want the world to get an understanding of where your mindsets are, right? Different positions, like Twin, for instance, is saying what he's saying. Lauren came on, he's saying, look, got to stand and fight. You know, some people are saying, look, man, I don't feel at home here. I need to go somewhere else. So I understand all the positions, man. So I want you guys just to, so that's my position. For me, I'm not admonishing people to leave home or to do this or to do that. I want you guys to really just come on and just talk about the way you see it, the way you feel, and what it is that you want to do, right? So that's what we're doing.
Yeah, exactly. I just feel like, you know, if we're born here, we're from here, we have family here, you know, we got a life here, we got jobs here, we got careers here.
Hey.
Like, where are we going to go? You know, like, we're going to just pick up and go to another country and start a new life there. Like, no, we're from here. This is where we're from. We grew up, we're born. This is where we're raised. You know what I'm saying? We just got to come together and think of a solution of how, you know, racism is going to exist forever. You know what I'm saying? That's something that will never go away. You know, and it's sad, but it's, you know, it's out there, and we just got to learn we got to come together we all got to come together, be strong, think of a solution, and think of what we can do to, you know, stop the police brutality, you know what I'm saying? Because the way they caught this guy on video like that, that's just pure murder, you know what I'm saying? They got everything on camera.
Yeah.
And everybody, you know, if I don't know, man, it's like, who do you held accountable for these things? You know, the guy that's recording it, there's people around there. They should have done something then, you know, jump on the cop, stop the cop then, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But it's a tough situation, you know. It's law enforcement, you know, they're the law. We have to follow by their rules, whatever. And sometimes they just go overboard, and that was pure murder. But
yeah, if you're a black person, man, like the thing is, if you're a black person and you try to do something, you might lose your life as
You
well,
might
right?
lose your life,
Ronzo,
correct?
can
Yeah,
I
you
can
might.
I speak? Can I say something? I hear
Yeah.
people speaking, and as someone, I mean, I'm listening to all of you, and I feel for each and every one of your stories. Let's give you a little bit about my story. I live in Japan. I've been here 26 years. I always felt that America wasn't very friendly to me, and I've dealt with a lot of things, like I think all of us have. But I think what everyone's speaking about is their own struggle. Things are hard. Some people want to fight, some do not. My struggle or my issue has always been I want to provide options, right? If you wish to fight, fight. Stay there. Fight for what is yours. That's fine. If you believe your road is another way, then take that. When you run, you need to run for the right reason, right? And it seems like everyone here has a right reason. It's for their life, it's for their joy and their happiness. My joy and happiness about being outside of the United States is not because I feel safe and I've run. It's about giving opportunities to brothers and sisters like yourselves if you choose to leave. Someone mentioned the Holocaust. I can't remember who it was who was on here, but one of the things about that, which is a tragedy, it was many tragedies about it, but that is that many Jews felt that Germany was their home, Europe was their home, and they tried to run. There's a famous story of the ship that tried to dock in New York, and no one would take them, right? So some of us are out here. We want to be able to take you in, right? Create a community you can come to and feel safer. So if you wish to leave, leave, right? That's what you feel strongly in your heart. If you wish to stay, stay. But I'll tell you, those brothers who wish to leave, there's a place for you. We're working on that. And those of you who wish to stay, those of us over here, we know the GoFundMe's and the crowdfunding to fund. I mean, I literally just donated to Black Lives Matter just now online to help support brothers and sisters. So it's not as simple as should you leave or should you not. It's about how do you fight for us? How do you fight, right? And fighting might be by going abroad and expanding your mind and contributing in some way, providing opportunities to others. Some may be just living long enough to have your own family and not live in fear. Some are to fight, and you brothers who are fighting, we're all fighting in our own way. And so, I mean, I guess those who want to leave, you can say, if you leave, you let America know what it's like not to have us and you punish them. But you don't run because you want to punish someone. You run for your own sense of, purpose and intention. And if you can be happy elsewhere, go. If you cannot be happy elsewhere, stay. And let's just hope as a community we can support one another. And I think that's the important thing is how do we support those who are leaving? How do we support those who are staying, Ronzo?
Understood. All right, cool, Henry. So I see who's this? No, that's okay. I can't pronounce your name. Abraham, I believe, something like that. What's your position?
Abdurrahman Mohammed. I live in Sweden actually, and I saw this happening. I saw the video early on, and my thought of listening to people in this chat saying we might leave, we might stay. America is your country. You people also founded America and built it. I don't think the people can just leave their home just like that. And if you left, where would you go? A lot of countries are very ethnically based. I mean, they have only one ethnicity. America has a diversity of ethnicities and races and so on. I think you should work within the system to change everything. Why aren't they killing the Asians? That's because Asians are really important and they contribute to economy. And the Americans aren't killing them because they are a lot richer in a sense.
Okay, I see.
When it comes to monetary value, I think work shouldn't be done by rioting and all of that won't fix that shit. It will set everything back. I think it should be done with civil disobedience and working very smart within a system that is designed. I mean, still, America has a way of going forward. You have to think about that. People can, at the end of the day, fix it, even if it is really hard, and it's always ends up in weird tragedies in that country when it comes to oppression and so on. Living in Sweden, I've discovered that there is racism in Sweden, and that's mainly because Sweden is ethnically homogeneous country. 90% of Sweden is Swedes, and you know, you don't really feel like you're part of Swedish society. And I know Americans who have moved from America who are black, who live in Sweden now, and for them it is more, they feel American, while I never can feel Swedish.
So yeah, so I want you guys to talk because of the discussion, right? So if there's something you want to chime in on, just feel free to do so. So just
Can I
come
just
in whenever you feel like.
do a mic check? Do a mic
Yeah, the
check.
mic
Is my mic
yeah,
okay?
that's right. Your mic is working now.
Well, I was gonna say,
Okay, good, because I switched devices. I was on the tablet. I've now moved it onto the phone. I was kind of responding to the brother from the States, and he was asking like, how could he leave America? Like, I'm from the UK, right? So I'm born and grow here. You know, more than 50 years old. We've had our share of writing in this country. We've had a lot of problems, but nothing compared to what I'm seeing, what's going on in the States, right? Myself personally, I have a house in Ethiopia. I've got a flat in Egypt. Like, I'm answering the brother who's saying like, how can we get out of the States or in my case, the UK? Like, I wouldn't be able to necessarily afford to buy a house outright in the UK, you know, without taking a mortgage. But I don't get involved in interest. I don't take mortgage, so I only get involved in things where I could buy cash. Like the Egypt flat, I bought the flat like 15 years ago for £7,000. I'm sure, you know, the brother doing lorry driving, he could raise like $10,000. You could go to Ghana, is very inviting. You can get, you know, a small piece of land or a house and build up there from the start. I've even seen you, brother, doing interviews with brothers who are deciding to do some land farming. They said there's land there. Like, you could even approach the brother doing that and say, listen, I will come and I will dig the ground with you, you know, and then you will get a stake in that. So I feel if there's people who want to get out, they can get out. Yeah, we don't have to like say we need this kind of lifestyle, what they're living in, right? And say that you can't get out. Just accept a little bit less, because he mentioned even Ghana, and he was talking about this sanitary problems and this and that. These things are just, you know, you just accept them, and then you help to make them things better. You know, I put up with that in Ethiopia for like the last 25 years. When I went there, you know, you just get used to it. You get a part of it, and then you know, if you have to go out there and dig the road yourself, you go and dig the road with the people, because the government's not necessarily doing it. You see the people, like even in Jamaica. If you go to Jamaica, you'll see the local people fixing the roads. Yeah, so you just get involved.
No, yeah, definitely.
I'll hand it over.
I agree.
Oh, I was gonna say, I don't know. Can you hear me?
I mean, I feel like as a
I
people,
was
man,
gonna
we
say,
just got to do better.
that
You know, I don't think that we should just leave, pick up, and leave. If you want to leave, go right ahead. You know, I'm not saying don't leave, but I'm saying, why should you leave somewhere where you're born, where your family is, where you were raised, where you work? I just feel like we just got to find a solution, and a way we could start is, for one, staying out of trouble. You know, keeping the law office, not
So here
breaking
goes the
laws,
thing.
so we
Yo,
don't have to
look.
worry about, you know, cops arresting
Can you
us
hear me?
and, you know, resisting arrest, and then next, you know, things lead to, you know, the cops going overboard with their brutality. I feel like, man, we just got to do better and it's crazy. It's seriously white privilege, man. White privilege is serious out here, and it's not gonna be fair for us. It never will be fair for us. We got to know that it's not gonna change. Like with the racism, it's not gonna change. I hate to say it, it's not gonna change. It's always gonna be out there. They're always gonna be out to get us. So how do we do to stop and avoid that? We stay out of trouble. We do the best that we can do, because they're not. If you're not in trouble, obviously they're not gonna.
Lee, what do you have to say, Lee?
Oh, I was gonna
If
say,
you're
see,
not getting in trouble,
can you
obviously
hear
we're
me?
not just gonna come and arrest you and come to your
Can you
house.
hear me?
Am I right or
Yeah.
wrong?
You guys can hear me?
Yeah, well, twin, let Lee speak for a second. Lee, yeah, we can hear you. Go ahead.
Okay. I was gonna say, and he brought up something that I was gonna comment on real quick. We not getting in trouble, bro. We not doing nothing. All you doing is being black, and that's enough. That's it. You got to understand that. I mean, in America, we never had a fair contract with America, right? What that means is that we were never invited here. We were seized and brung here. So this is not our home. But really, to answer the question, we are a global people, okay? Meaning that somebody told me a long time ago, right? When the white man started exploring, he would go to all the ancient cities. He had this map. It was all the ancient cities around the planet that he would go to, wherever you want to go to, Aztec land, all kinds of places, right? And every time he would go and dig up a tomb, he'd find a brother that looked like one of us right now with our hair like this, and we look just like this, but we've been dead for like 100,000 years. So we've been all over the planet. The whole planet is ours. We don't really have to say, oh, we got to stay here, we got to stay there. The whole planet is ours. I know in Japan, there's some people right now I heard about that look black, right? Up in the hills or something. They look just like black people. And it's rumored that Japan,
Okay.
if somebody mutes their mic, it's rumored that Japan gets the rising sun from the cult of the sun from Egypt. That whole mantra that they talk about, the rising sun, that comes from the cult of the sun, which is out of Egypt, if I'm correct. So to answer the question, we can't stay here. If you don't see what's going on TV right now, you know, you're probably part of the problem, because right now, this country, I guarantee you, the leaders don't care. The leaders won't even give up four cops. 4 cops could have avoided all this. They could have gave up 4 police officers. They know they committed. Think about how quick they put us in jail for doing nothing, and these cops committed murder for the whole world to see, and they did nothing. So I guarantee you, if we don't leave, people talk about the Jews. How many Jews are in Germany right now? You know what happened to the Jews? They all started Israel. And Israel was nothing more than a watering hole in the desert. And it's still practically just a desert. But all the Jews left Germany. You can't even get a Jew to go back to Germany right now. Okay? They're all in Israel. And we may not end up like that today, but if you're paying attention to what's happening right now, it's going to go that way. Because that could be what's happening right now this weekend. It could be one of 2 ways. It could be to excite that, or it could just be a precursor for the other side of white supremacy to push back, because they got an answer for this. I'm looking at this thing on TV, and people are talking about outsiders and stuff like that. That sounds like some civil rights speeches, because when we was fighting the civil rights movements, the white Southerners would call them outside agitators, Northerners. They said the same shit 50 years ago. But think about it, right? We've been fighting this fight for equality for 400 years. 400 years, black men been dying. It's probably about, I did the calculations. It's somewhere around 2.5 and 3 million black men have been killed in this country extrajudicially. And for those of you that don't understand what extrajudicial punishment is, that is where you are killed underneath the government authority. And in order for that to be, the extrajudicial part means that an officer of the law has to take your life without giving you due process. And upon that happening, that is a crime under the Constitution. And they won't even recognize that. So we got serious problems. I want to just say one more thing. The brother that started this channel, I never catch your name, but you're the reason why I got my passport. So I want to thank you for that. So that's all I gotta say.
No problem, bro. Thanks for sharing giving your take. The name is Ranzo. Ja, what's up? You're talking.
I definitely want to. Can you guys hear me? Can you hear me?
We can.
Okay, I definitely agree with what the previous brother said. You know, we are too defined by this struggle, and we are way too diverse to just be a struggle like this. You know, I'm a software engineer and an orchestral composer. I have yet to meet other programmers in my line of work, and I've traveled all over this country, and I've been to Europe, and you know, and looking looking at Asia. You know, I think we are heavily underestimating America in this regard. We don't understand that they have broken us mentally. You know, capitalism is a structure of the mind. It gets your mind. You can make all the money you want, and it doesn't matter. You know, you look at the census.gov, you can see our household income over decades, and we have not gotten past 45,000, not once. Whereas every other race, they are seeing record profits, even this year. You know, and they want us to do the census again, but the point is this country was not made for us, but that's just how dope we are. We made it for us. And the thing is, we're now that the world is becoming global, we're seeing things. We're seeing different things. We're realizing I don't have to be a black man fighting for my life. I want to be an engineer. I want to create. I want to explore. You know, America has gotten complacent because it won, but half of our engineers are imported from overseas. So there's a huge deficit here that we need to exploit and take advantage of. And we can't get there because we're so caught up. We're so tunnel vision on just trying to survive. You know, I spent some time in Alabama and I was just chilling in my own car and officers came in and was causing me problems. I literally thought I was going to die that night. This is very common for us. And I speak like this. I don't cause trouble. You know, I have to get a government clearance. That means you can't be in any trouble. But yet I'm still profiled the same way because I look like this. And I like it. I like being black. We're dope. Don't let them fool us into thinking that this is our country. We need to stay and fight. The world is ours. Planet Earth is ours. Global warming is affecting all of us. If aliens was to come here right now, they're not going to say, hey, let's stop at America first. We have to explore. That is it. They won. They have their own thing. America sees two colors, green and red, blood and money. That is it. That is it. We're not like that. That's why we didn't fight. That's why it took us 400 years. That's why we had the peaceful protest. We're not built like that. We are people of the mind. We discover, we create, and we need to get back to that. And I really appreciate this conversation. I mean, the diversity shows a lot here. It really warms my heart because I'm out here in Cali. I don't see a lot of me in this light, and I just want to show my appreciation for that. I got a lot more to say, but go ahead and respond.
I just want to add one more thing that he said real quick. For those of you that don't know, by 2053, mark your calendars. Black wealth in America will go to zero. And for those of you that don't understand what that means, let me give you an example. George Floyd was killed for $20, bro. $20. Where's my wallet at? He was killed for a $20 bill. How many 20s I got in here? I got like one myself, right? You see this? This is why this man got killed, passing off a counterfeit $20 bill to get groceries because the Roni got him so screwed up, he obviously couldn't earn any money. He was hungry, wanted some cigarettes, and something as simple as $20. So if you think about it right now, I know this brother's an engineer. I'm a self-employed individual myself, so we probably have better control over our economics because I'm my own boss and he makes a lot of money, right? But think about the population of us that don't even have $20. And by 2053, that says we're gonna be having zero. That means your wealth is gonna be having zero. That means your home, you don't got no home, you renting, you can't even pay your rent because you don't got no savings. Zero. Okay? Zero. So I just want to go off of that. And the other thing I wanted to say was, yeah, man,
close that door for me.
Look at how we like to have our hair. The problem they have with us is that we are too distinguished. I got a bunch of philosophies, but the main one about white supremacy is the problem white supremacy has with us. What we have done to them is that we remain distinguished. We are, in my opinion, the black person, or as I like to say right now, the human, because we are actually human, okay, and they're mankind. Understand that? Look that up. White supremacy is mankind, and we are human. We are the first human. We are 1.0. The problem they have with us is that after all this shit, that they put us through, and we could just be like, yo, we could just code switch and be like, yo, I'm down with the white supremacy thing. We still be yelling no. You know what I'm saying? We still
You know,
yell no.
you know when you said the median household income will hit zero by 2053, right? I just want to say it's a projection, right? Because when I read the same article, and the thing is, when you see that, I don't want people to feel discouraged and believe that, okay, because they said that this may happen in 2023, 53 means this is like it will happen, right? If we change course, like I believe if that happens, then we can avoid that 2053 zero median household income. I just want to say that because sometimes when we hear stuff like that, people tend to feel defeated and feel like, there's nothing that can be done, but something can be done about that. That's not set in stone. I just want to posit that.
To combat that, I think we have to realize that it's not for us to make money in this country. The ones who do, they do it in spite of. That's the thing here. Our income has not changed, while everybody, even immigrants, make more than us, significantly more than us. I mean, and that's from years, decades. That's facts. Yeah,
a Mexican come across the border tomorrow, have a brand new Dodge Ram 2021 and a home in 90 days. It's a known fact. It's a statistical fact. I think. Matter of fact, I don't fuck with. Hold a minute. I don't know who it was. I was watching on CNN, but they made a point about this. They was like, oh, it's Antonio Moore on his channel. He made a point about this. The data shows, right, that I think it was the 70s or the 80s, white people who were blue collar were able to secure home loans at 100% rate than black people who were professional, meaning doctors, professors, and nurses that were black could not get a home loan. But a white person who worked in a Ford automotive plant, who made less money, had less education, was able to secure a home loan. So that's what to answer what the brother was talking about. I just want to give the facts to what he's saying. It's about we're not supposed to make no money in this country, man. We're not supposed to make anything.
But we do have options, and that's what I appreciate the other brother saying. There are a lot of options that we have that we just don't know because we're too busy doing what the rest of America is doing. You got to understand, these people are making a lot of money, but they're not enjoying it as much. Our innovation has kind of become stagnant. We're not creating as much as we used to. And now, like they said, the average American can't even save $500 for an emergency. And COVID has exposed that. And Black people as a whole, we have the lesser part of that. So it's not like America's just doing great and we're just at the bottom. They're going down too. We're just already there, and they don't want to be where we're at. And so the only high ground that they can have is the moral one, or the one where they can put their knees on our necks.
Bell, you had something to say, Bell?
So yeah, I was going to elaborate on everything. I live in Texas now. I'm originally from East Coast. I'm from Jersey. So I'm back in school for my second computer degree. So I run my own little small business, and I also my mom and my family lives down here too, because of the retirement benefits is better for us down here. So we live in the capital state. So I live out here by the lake, and I have lake views, and I mean it's quiet out here. I never had no problems. It's just about how you need to tap into that market of people that you need to resource with. There's some Black people down here that makes billions of dollars down here, and I mean it's like you just got to hook up with the right people. It's like we got to make the choice of where we want to make our money and how we want to make our money.
It's not really about making money, though.
But the thing
it's enjoying it.
It's more than that. But the thing is, it's about self-preservation. But our self-preservation is we got to look at the history of America, period. I mean, even the white people wasn't supposed to be here. This was all Indian land. Before even they exist, before they even crossed over here, the Indians had this land. So they were just as dark as we were. So, I mean,
they killed them all.
Where I live at now, Texas was a part of Mexico.
Yeah.
So really, I'm Mexican. Even we want to put emphasis on that. This is Mexico right here. I mean, you see more Spanish people than ever down here. But it's the thing, the way they want to run things like they are the majority. which they're not no more. That's the problem. They're killing off everybody else because right now they are the minority, and
Now
they're
here goes
trying
the
to
thing.
figure out a way to sustain themselves.
Here goes the thing. They not really. I don't think they're really trying to kill all black people though. I just said that that's a possibility because if you got to look at it right, the way
No,
they're
they're
going
not trying to
about,
kill
yeah,
us.
yeah,
Either they trying to. It's not always. You see, we always thinking about murder.
yeah,
There's more than one way to murder a person. You can
exactly.
murder a person by putting them in jail. Like
Hmm.
in the southern states, I lived in 3 southern states.
Hmm.
I tell you, if you go to jail for a black person in the southern state and get a felony on your record, it's hard to get back
Hmm.
on your feet,
Hmm.
period.
Oh yeah, it's
And they take
impossible.
it
Hold on.
away for a reason.
Wait,
So it behooves
I
us
want
to keep
Niggaster.
our neck
Niggaster, I want you to.
and stuff.
Sorry, I want him to chime in as well. He's been here for a bit in the red shirt.
Yeah, I'm here in Japan, and I've heard what everyone had to say about staying in America. I think we all need to become global citizens. I mean, it's levels to this game, right? Some people are talking from a local level, but you need to just start thinking from a global level. This is time for Industry 4.0. The world is moving faster. Data is moving faster. This is a digital game. It has nothing to do with race. It has nothing to do with money. It's just knowledge at this point. Right now, most black people are in harm's way. They're in America. So I'm no longer there, but I still run a global company in America, but I'm not in harm's way.
So okay, so you're saying people should follow your suit then? Follow suit.
I'm saying we should share information on
Mhm.
um, how to become independent from that system, right?
Understood.
Yeah.
Well, we can do that. I think if you look at us as a whole, we are the most creative people on the planet. And like we create a lot of industries. I don't know. I wouldn't say we created sports, but damn sure sports marketing. Everything that they sell is they use an athlete to do it.
Well,
Um,
for example, I own almost 300 domains. So, for example, I own NBA XR. So that's the next level of NBA. Right now, you can't go to an NBA game, but you can watch it through mixed reality. I own
mhm.
that domain.
Okay.
So it's about knowledge and it's about getting in front of what's going on now,
Hmm. Hmm.
right? And sharing that knowledge.
Hmm. Hmm.
So
But
Rick B,
we definitely got. I think we definitely need to, and I'm doing this myself because I started doing UX. I started learning about user experience.
Right.
So I think the problem also is we got to get a lot of our young brothers into the engineering field, software engineering, things like that. We got to get on that technology tip. We got to get them out of the drug dealer and basketball shoes and in behind that keyboard. Because I always say to myself, as creative as we are, if you could get a brother behind a keyboard as much as you can get him in front of a video game, it's no telling what the next innovation we haven't even imagined would be like for
Right.
technology. You know.
I got behind the keyboard back in 96, 97. I had partnerships with companies like Dell, Fujitsu, Broadcom there in the United States, and I have a major partnership here in Japan with a major hospitality brand. So the information is there, but it's not being utilized by my community or
Hmm.
by my people properly.
Hmm.
So I've created a platform in order to share this information.
Hmm. Oh, I think I saw it. What is it called again? It sounds.
I don't really want to
Oh, okay.
uh,
um,
I think
say
I
that here.
I
so
think I
Rick
came
B,
across it. Yeah.
wait, Rick B, are you listening? Because in the blue shirt, Shield Academy, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, can you share your position?
Um, so I guess bringing it back to the primary question, is it time to leave America? Um, when I jumped on, there was a fellow on here talking about, no, you can't leave where you grew up because everything is here and blah, 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 and all of that. And we just got to work together. And a lot of these really broad, kind of like empty platitudes, I think the devil is truly in the details. I mean, We had slavery for what, 300-400 years? So we can't even really count that because we didn't have control of ourselves during that period. But if you mark from 1865 or 1864, which is the end of the Civil War and the beginning of the Emancipation Proclamation and our freedom, we literally went from 1864-65 to 1965, where the Civil Rights Act was enacted. That's 100 years. 100 years of Jim Crow and Reconstruction and whatever, right? And we go from 1965 to now is not that long a time. And let's be honest, things on the surface look like they've changed. They have not changed, because instead of slavery, we have the school to prison pipeline. All right, for no reason whatsoever. So when I hear all of this stuff, I hear there's a young man up in the top row in the center, which I don't. I mean,
Yeah,
are you?
Brahman.
Are you? Where are you? Where are you right now?
Sweden. I'm in
Oh,
Sweden. I
okay. So
live in Sweden.
let me break it down for you from America. I'm in New York City. I'm in Queens. I've lived in every borough in this city except for the Bronx, and I'm 48 years old. 48, getting ready to be 49. Let me tell you, New York City is supposedly one of the most liberal cities in America. And there are still issues here, right? There's issues within the
Yeah,
inherent
but
power
there is
structure.
issues
Wait, so let
everywhere.
me finish. You wait, let me
And
finish. Wait, let me finish. Let me finish. Let me finish. It's not as easy as, oh, let's just plan. Let's just do X, Y, and Z. Let's be passive little children. Let's be fish. Let's march. Let's do this. We've been marching since the 1960s, right? We've been peacefully protesting since the 1960s here. And all the power structure has done is found ways to counteract every peaceful thing that we've done. I'm watching it today on Twitter and on the news. These peaceful protests out here with our brothers and sisters and Black Lives Matter are being infiltrated by white supremacists and outside agitators. Okay? They're the ones who's out there throwing bricks and burning up cars and doing all this stuff. But to the average person, they're going to look and see, oh, these animals are doing this. They cannot protest peacefully. And when we protest peacefully, like Colin Kaepernick did a couple of years ago, which is why I stopped watching football and sports, there's like, oh, that son of a bitch this, that son of a bitch that. Let me tell you something about America. Let me tell you something about America. We can stay and fight, but it is a futile battle. It will be, if it's a victory at all, it will be a Pyrrhic victory, because whatever we win, what we've lost will be too much. It is time to go. I have an 18-year-old son. I have an 18-year-old son who I love more than anyone on this planet. And I'm not a Christian, and I'm not a passive person. If any harm befalls him, I will go straight up John Wick on whoever hurts him. And that's a fact. I want him. I want him. I want him out of here. He's going to start college in September. When he's done with that, I want him out of here, and I will be leaving not too long after that. Where I'm going, I don't know. Maybe Ghana, maybe Germany, maybe Lisbon, maybe Japan, maybe China, maybe Singapore. But I got to tell you, it won't be here. I have no faith in the American people to do right by anybody with black and brown skin. And I'll tell you why. I'm just going to wrap this up real quick. I'll tell you why. Because if they cared, they would have done it. Are there white people that want to help? Absolutely. But it's never enough. It's never enough. And we can't do it by ourselves. We can't. So from over there in Sweden, things may look like it's easy to do X, Y, and Z to fix things. It is not. It has never been. It has never been.
Not in the United States ever.
Nope. Sorry.
Let me say this:
Well, to recap,
there are Africans in Africa in chains being sold as slaves. In China, they're blaming Africans and black people for spreading COVID-19 when it has been the failure of the Chinese government and the practices of Chinese traditions. Once again, racism is
to
everywhere,
recap
and it
on what
is
the last brother just said,
said
real
Let me
quick.
finish. Let me finish.
pandemic.
Let me
Okay.
finish.
Let me address this. Racism exists everywhere, and it's pandemic. Most countries don't have avenues to address that because black people were not a part of their system for so long. Most countries are founded on one ethnicity and one people owning the country, and that's that. They are 90%, 80%, 60% of the majority, and they own the country and they do mostly as they wish. even a lot of the newly westernized countries like Sweden and so on have 90% Swedes, 99% Swedes. What I'm trying to say is, where will you go as a black man when you think, oh my, America's so racist, it's so horrible, it's worse, it's the worst? Where will you go?
Let me
Will
answer
you
that
go to
question.
China?
Let me answer that question for you just right away. Let me answer that question for you right away. Wherever there is economic opportunity, and wherever I feel the safest,
I agree.
wherever I can walk out of my house and not have to worry about some white woman getting scared that I got too close and is getting ready to call the cops on me to kill me. When I can walk out of here, when my son can leave to go bike riding, and I'm not worried some flatfoot is gonna fuck up his day and his life. Pardon my French. That's where I'll go. Because right now, I don't know how it is for Sweden. I'm guessing it's pretty safe for you there. I'm guessing you're not in danger
It
of
is
walking
safe.
out of
It
your
is a
house and
really
getting
safe
murdered by the
country.
police. Here, that's a very real fear. And I'm sick and tired of being afraid. I've been here 48 years and I've been a trooper, okay? I've lived in this city where New York cops, people talk about the police in the South and another part of the country. New York cops are the most thug, hood people on the planet. They give zero F words. They give
They
zero F
don't.
words about
They don't
anything. They
care.
don't care. They don't care, okay?
They call
And I know
themselves
They
the
don't give
biggest
a
gang in
fuck.
the world.
you have this look of incredulity on your face, like, what is he talking about? I am telling you, we do not feel
No,
safe
I
here.
actually don't
When
know
a
your
when a NY
situation, so I'm
when
not
a
claiming to
NYPD
speak for anyone here.
when a
It's
But
not safe.
what
NYPD
I
No,
see from
you asked the
outside
question
is
about where
most
would we
No,
go.
people,
but Mohammed,
where
bro. But I
it's
gotta
not
say that
like the
Mohammed.
rest of the world is this rosy pictured, beautiful
No, but I'm
place
saying
There ain't no
Mohammed.
where
rosy picture, dude.
racism doesn't
It ain't no rosy
exist.
picture.
Moment,
It
well,
ain't no
hold up,
rosy
hold up,
picture.
hold up, guys, hold up. Moment, look, you gotta respect someone's position. If he lives on the ground and he's telling you what it's like, it's what he says, right? So I've been
Yeah,
in New York. My family live in New York.
I don't
As I
assume
said,
to
hold up,
know
bro,
his
hold up. Can you,
situation. I
bro? If
don't
you're
think
gonna talk over me, I'm gonna disconnect the call, please. I'm trying to be respectful. My family live in the States. My mom, my dad, my brothers, my cousins, whatever. I've been in the States myself, and I've encountered police in the States. And honestly, I understand exactly what he's saying. 1000% I concur. I understand exactly what you're saying. So if someone is telling you something, and that's one thing we do on this channel, we share the experiences of people. And I don't like when people try to invalidate someone else's experience, because if someone lived it, they're telling me what they lived. Please just if someone said this is my lived experience,
Can I respond to that?
respect the person's experience,
I'm
please.
sorry if it was taken as that, but I wasn't trying to do it. I said even I don't know your situation. I can't speak for you.
But
Okay?
people also
But what
people
I'm
also do feel
saying,
safer with the safety aspect. I gotta say, because I live in Japan, I've been all over Asia, and you do feel safer, right? You do feel safer. I'm not gonna say it's there's no problems, but you do feel safer. You can walk outside, you don't feel like, oh, this is gonna happen to me, that's gonna happen to me, someone's gonna call the police or whatever. You legitimately feel safer. And sometimes I even push the envelope a bit, where there was one time when I left my phone, I was live streaming somewhere in Tokyo, and I left my phone on the side of this building to go to the washroom. And I'm like, you know what? It's a social experiment. Let me leave my phone. Went to the washroom, came back. My phone was there, iPhone under the tripod still. No one touched it. Like the vast majority of people have lived and resided in different countries in Asia. I can speak for Japan as well, because this is where I live. You do feel safer. So what he's asking for, being able to go out, not worrying about your life, it happens here. When he's talking about finding economical opportunities, depending on what you can do, you can get it done here as well. So I'm saying the type of life that he's looking for exists elsewhere based on what other people have seen. Again, I'm not admonishing people to leave their homeland. The question is just me putting the question out there to facilitate a discussion, and that's why I'm silent, because I like when people talk. So I'm in the corner utilizing my platform as a force for good, where people can come on and share their positions, because I do see people in the comment section saying people are saying this and that. I am creating a platform because I understand the platform I have, giving people the opportunity to share their position, and I'm here to listen and facilitate, right? And what you're looking for exists in other places, and you can go to my videos, you can watch a documentary. People have said it.
I'm just going to interject this last thing, and then I'm going to bow out. Many years ago, when I was a much younger man, a close friend of mine, his name is Jeff. He, black man, just like black young man, just like myself at the time. He spent his high school years learning Japan, 4 years of Japanese in high school, 4 years of Japanese in Skidmore College. and we both kind of got into it because we were both into anime at the time because we were both huge nerds. Except he actually learned the language, and he moved to Japan to teach English after he graduated college. And every now and then we get together. I'd say, "Hey man, when are you coming home? When are you coming back to the States?" And he'd be like, "No, I'm not doing it." It's like, I have my issues with some of the Japanese in terms of how work goes and like the hierarchical structure there and getting promoted and moving ahead and stuff. But I never have to worry about, the Japanese police, pulling me over or, killing me, choking me up or shooting me 52 times, 42 times for no reason. It was the safety aspect that he spoke about back then that I didn't get when I was in my 20s. But as I got older and as things here in this country got progressively worse, as everybody got like video cameras in their pockets on their phones and these things were able to be recorded and put out there. And there was a period where we, as Black people and brown people in this country, said, "Hey, you know what? Everybody has video cameras, these high-def video cameras in their pockets on their cameras. So if we record this stuff and put it out there, people can see, like, we weren't talking crap all these years about the abuse and stuff that we take." But now, the reason why I'm so cynical now, one of the reasons why I'm so cynical now, is exactly that. People are recording. I mean, we literally watched a man get killed. And it's not the first time, right? In the past 10 years, we watched Eric Garner die, right? We just watched Ahmaud Arbery get shot down by these three white men, right? We just watched that like a week or two ago. And we put this out there now, and still there is resistance. It's like we're going, "Yo, stop killing us. Please stop killing us." And white people in this country are going, "Yeah, but no, it's time to go." So
I'll let Mohammed, before I let you speak, because I want you to respond. There's one thing I want to say because someone tweeted me yesterday actually as well. And I got to say this as well. There was a protest in Tokyo. The protest was yesterday, right? And it was a lot of Japanese people in the crowd. I believe there were some Koreans as well and foreigners. They were protesting police brutality, believe it or not, in Tokyo. If you guys want to see it, you can go to my Twitter at the BlackXJP. So BLACKEXJP. You can see the clip. So what happened was, what I'm trying to say is that no country is without its problems, right? So apparently there was an encounter with a Kurdish man and two police officers within Tokyo, Japanese police officers. And what happened was, I'm not sure why they stopped him in on the road or whatever, but these police one police officer was trying to, like, I guess, tell him something or tell him to sit down, and then another police rushed over and like swept away his feet with his leg, right? You know, when you try to like when you sweep away someone's feet with their foot to try to like cause them to fall over. So it was a very aggressive arrest or whatever. And that actually was a catalyst for this massive protest in Tokyo. I've never seen something like this before. And someone tweeted me about it. And I thought, so if you want to see the actual thing. So what I'm saying is I was taken aback for a bit because I was talking to my wife yesterday about, well, I've never really seen a massive protest in Japan before, right? And then lo and behold, a few minutes after, literally, maybe a couple hours, someone tweeted me. So things like that happen. And the Kurdish man was a foreigner, and I'm not sure what he did, but I saw the video, and this caused a massive protest. Japanese people, you got English signs, Japanese signs in Korean about the police or whatever. You can go and see it. So I just said that to have a balanced argument where things do happen, right? So I'm not saying that was the first for me to see something like that, like protesting police brutality. I've never seen that in Japan before, ever. But the person tweeted me, I saw it, and it's apparently a big thing. So I just want to say that just to make sure that I'm giving you guys all the information that I have in terms of what it's like or can be like. So Mohammed, I want you to respond to her just to complete your thought.
Well, I don't. I have very small memory, so sometimes I don't remember.
Oh no, it's okay. But I just want you. I'm not attacking you, right? I just wanted to say, because I talk to so many people and so many people reach out to me when someone says something about it, when someone is sharing something. Usually, I like people talking. That's why I do the interviews. I like the person to talk. It's not about me. It's about the interviewee, right? So, when someone says something, and I've spoken to so many people, different positions. I've learned to respect someone's position, and a lot of times some people might say, "Man, this never happened to me, so it doesn't exist." And I can't take that position because I know it's not the case. It's far from the truth.
So
right.
My point wasn't it didn't exist when I was talking to the brother there. It was that it happens everywhere, and it happens worst at our own continent, because believe it or not, in Africa there's much more brutality, there's much more murder of Black African people, and in countries like China, they even blame us for their own shit. So what I wanted to have said is, first of all, Africans, Black people in general, should try and pick our continent, Africa. That's our home. That's where we belong to. I think Americans belong to America, including Black Americans, but if they don't feel that they are at home there, then Africa is our continent. We can't go anywhere else, really. We're always the ones sticking out in other places. So if you're a minority in many places, then you'll be a target for anything.
So wait, so
So if you
your position
don't,
is, so you're saying that
So
Black people can only stay where they're born and return to Africa. So you're saying we only have two options then, but you reside in Sweden, right?
yeah, I live in Sweden, and you don't really belong to Swedish society if you're Black,
But let me ask you.
because
So,
or
let me ask you a
any
question.
other.
So wait, let me ask. So why did you move to Sweden?
Yeah, my parents moved to Sweden. I didn't have any choice in moving to Sweden.
So if you had a choice right now, where would you move to? Because I guess once you become of age, I'm not sure how old you are, but where would you
No,
go?
I'm 21.
So where would you go? So what?
I'd live in my home country.
Which country is that?
It's Somalia.
So are you planning to move back to Somalia?
Yeah, I've always planned to move back.
Okay, understood. Because the thing is,
So I'm saving up some money and trying to make my own way in my home country to contribute to its development and to better it. That's all I can do.
Respect.
You know,
Okay,
and
okay.
I do think Americans, Black Americans, their home is America. They were born there. I think most people, where they were born is their home. So I am not saying you know your valid your experiences are invalid or anything. Whatever happens, it happens. But a lot of people say America is uniquely bad at dealing with racial issues. A lot of places are also horrible at dealing with that. In our own continent, a lot of, like Libya, for example, they literally have Black slaves, and it is in Africa. And I think Africa belongs to the Blacks. So Libyans are literally enslaving Black Africans. And I think
Well,
those issues have to be dealt with.
Well, I haven't met any Libyans myself, and I'm not really going to trust everything that the oppressor shows me without somebody telling me. You know what I mean? Because there's a lot of games in the global in this global game of domination. There's a lot of games being played on every level. But I will say this. That I know for a fact that, like every other brother in America feels right now after seeing that video, you're pretty much a cockroach in America right now. You're pretty much a cockroach. If you cuff up, it's a 110% chance you're gonna get snuffed out right now. If you cuff up, that means you let the police take you into custody. It's a 110% chance. I'm sure not everywhere is good. You know, I live in Hawaii, so Hawaii is pretty much primarily Asians. I've been here 10 years, and it's been difficult dealing with the environment because Asian culture is a lot different. American Asian culture is a lot different than white Southern culture or WASP culture. They're very xenophobic here in America. But I would just say that I don't think we should make generalizations and be like everywhere is bad. I know you've only been to Sweden. I'm not sure where else you've been, but I don't think we should make generalizations and say everywhere you go. China, again, yeah, I saw that video in China, but we don't know all the facts behind that. And again, I think China gets too much flack because you see how they show the protests in Hong Kong, and the American State Department be like, yeah, go on, protest autonomy for Hong Kong, and then we protest here, and they tell us we crazy, go home. But yet they will support every government on the planet, their citizenry destroying their own country. But when we try to destroy our own country, they villainize us and they champion everyone else. And that's why I say like things like the African trade of slaves in Libya. I'm not too sure about that because that's a whole nother There's a whole nother thing in play about those individuals and their overthrow of Gaddafi. You got to understand that. You know what I mean? There's a whole nother thing about why all these people are just in the middle of the desert, sitting around. You know. So like I said, until I meet a Libyan, but that's another topic. But to get back to the topic, yeah, I think it's time to leave because I'm pretty sure if you get cuffed up right now, if you let them cuff you, you're gonna get stomped out like a roach. If you let the police cuff you, it's 110% probability you're gonna get stomped out like a roach. That's all I gotta say.
The thing with what
So
Mohammed said,
I want
I get. Wait, I get your position. I understand what you're saying. So you're pretty much saying, and in the interview conducted with Q, he's saying, you know what, the safest you'll ever be is at home, right? Like he said that, and but the thing is, man, like I get your position, but when someone's life, and I think Henry spoke about that as well, it's like I'm not saying that you should reside or remain or flee. I'm not saying that. The reason why the question is just a centerpiece to get people talking, right? That's the function of the question, because people talk about feeling safe outside of America, right? People within America are saying they want to leave because they feel as though there's nowhere to turn, that this problem will not be remedied, right? So that's why the question is there. I get your position where you're saying, look, everywhere has problems and everywhere does have a problem, right? The thing, what happens is when you move from one place to another place, the problem might not be the same. It's still a problem. It's a different form, a different type of problem. You get what I'm trying to say? So if you're in America, or if I was in Canada, or if I was in Jamaica, or wherever, I moved to Japan, is a different issue. The problem of maybe feeling physically unsafe is not here. I don't feel that. Like, I don't feel that at all in Japan. But if I was in, let's say, Jamaica, for instance, or even America, the time I spent there, it's a totally different story. Things that I do here, I would not do there. So it's a personal decision for people to decide, look, if I want to stay, I'm gonna stay. And this is what I'm gonna do. If I want to leave, I want to leave. So it's up to an individual, because the fact of the matter is, as you can hear from people, some people want to stay. Some people want to leave. That's a fact. So you do have a divide. Those who want to stay and those who want to remain, leave, and it's a personal decision. They can decide if they want to stay or leave. Nowhere is perfect, bro. That's the truth. Nowhere is perfect. I can say nowhere is perfect. Yet still, one place might be better because you might live longer than if you were somewhere else. That's also a thing.
So
And I just
I want to elaborate on that. So, like you said, everybody has a choice. Like as people, we have a choice of where we want to live. So I always say this. This is my example. I like for years, I always known that the United States is not actually my physical home. It's like for years I've been looking for other places that I want to plant my feet and reside. It's a process. So with us is you got to make the choice and decision where you want to plant your feet and where you want to make it your home. So it all resides within us as a people. So we got to make a decision. So we just can't like everywhere has problems. Every country has problems. Wherever you go, you're gonna have problems. If everybody actually read the Bible, it's gonna be problems everywhere, chaos everywhere. It's gonna be that way. It's getting worse.
Right.
And for that pandemic, it started here and left here and went to China. So it left a lab in the United States where it was created at and flew all the way over there, and they released it over there. So I don't know why they blaming China. We actually started it. So,
and it's not.
My thing is, it's up to us.
So I have a question for the group.
Rick, wait, Rick, okay, Negos, go first, and then Rick.
Okay, question for the group. How many people own something that they can pass on to their children or to their children's children? Property, company, money that are black in the United States, percentage-wise. Take a guess.
Not a lot.
Okay, there's a structure. There's a structure in place in order to stop that, right? There, United States. Until you become a global citizen, that doesn't mean you need to leave the United States, but you need to get outside the United States to educate yourself to see what else is available for you.
Yeah, there's
right?
benefit to that.
I can say I have my own property in this country, back in the United States, my own companies that I could pass on to people I love when I leave this planet. So my whole goal was self-preservation as I realized how valuable I was as a black man, as a creative. So I started thinking beyond the system. I didn't want to be part of the system anymore because that wasn't designed for me. So I just started designing myself in my own system. I became my boss.
Yep.
Right.
Great.
And
So I
yeah,
think we all should have that mindset.
agreed.
Her-
And
That's what
just
I
to
believe in lifestyle.
Agreed.
Just like that, I believe in
I really
lifestyle
believe that
design,
the
designing the
topic.
life you want. I believe in that as well. 100%.
and
Great.
just to address one more a couple more things. Um, Making the decision to leave my home of 48 years is not something that I just woke up one morning and said, "Oh, time to go." It's it's been building, and it's been building for a very, 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 very long time, especially since I became a parent to a black child who is 18 going on 19 years old now. So it's not something I've taken lightly. I do acknowledge the fact that no place is perfect, but perfect is the enemy of good, right? You don't wait until something is perfect. You find what's going to work, or you put the work in to have this thing and go from there. And I'm telling you, once again, right now in America, and I don't know the brother in the red Under Armour.
He's in Japan.
Okay, he's in Japan,
Yeah.
but
I'm in Japan, but I used to live in the city where you are now.
but he brought up another very salient point. Like, I worked in a not-for-profit company in their IT department for over 21 years, right? And I got to see firsthand in quote unquote corporate America, right? The people who work the hardest. If this country talks about, work hard and you'll succeed, that's not true at all. Because if that were the case,
It's
the people who worked the hardest in my company where I worked, which were mostly black women, women of color, men of color, would have all been managers and directors. But it's not the case. Most of the upper echelon were white male with the occasionally white female. And their work, not necessarily the smartest or craftiest people, but they knew how to talk. They knew how to schmooze, right? And that's what it all comes down to. And after I got laid off from that job, you know, you get laid off for a job you've been at for a long time, you start thinking, you start pondering, and it's just like, wait a minute, I was never supposed to be part of that system. That system was not for me. I believe
Where were
in.
you?
Sorry.
Say you were in the IT sector. Where were you? And
Um, they called it desktop support, but we did pretty
right,
much everything that nobody else wanted to do, aside from coding.
right. I was at the mayor's office. I helped design that 311 system.
Oh wow, good on you, man. Yeah, I didn't have those kind of accolades. It was just putting in the work every day, just kind of going in
Well,
and grinding it out and
I guess
learning when I could.
my point to get on this call is okay. There's a system in place. I understand that system. I know how to think past that system, and I want to help people. If they want to stay in the United States and be a part of that, that's fine. If they want to get out of the United States and design themselves and do something different and do something digital, it's possible, right? So I want to share my experience. That's why I jumped on this call.
Okay.
And that's what I'm seeing or watching videos from Renzo. It is
Ranzo with an A. Ranzo.
Ranzo. Okay, because I've been watching your series for like a year now, and other YouTubers out there with specifically with black and brown people outside of America making their way, and it's just like I'm like, oh, okay, so I'm not trapped here. My future is not here. It's not set here, and I don't want it to be set here for me, and I don't want it to be set here for my son, and I don't want it to be set here for my nephews or niece either. And that's the whole thing. The whole question, bringing it back, is it time to leave America? Yeah, we all have to do what's good for ourselves, but right now, this country is not safe for us. It's not safe for us physically, and it's not safe for us economically. And that's something that's been discussed a couple of times on this call. So yeah, why stay where it's not, out of a sense of like false pride? This country is not. It's ours. We built it. but it was never ours. Everybody who's come over here after us has gotten the leg up, has gotten the approval to whiteness or either white adjacent, right? There was a video I saw the other day by a brown fella, Indian fella, who was just like shouting at his own people for the idea of accepting the idea of being a model minority from white America and how much of a sham it is and how it's used to keep down or dehumanize black people. And it's just like, okay, he's right.
Well, the African American and the Latino was designed as cheap labor. That was the point of bringing us to the United States. So that system is still in place. It's rooted there in America. So as we try to rise out of that, we're pushed back, and that's where the killing and the hypertension and the bad food. That's a system that's in place to keep you in that place.
Don't forget about the mental too. Our mentality is being toyed with. Like me personally, I remember I saw the police, NYPD, kill a man right in front of me in my neighborhood, Staten Island, Park Hill, back when I was like 15. So going forward, his name was Ernest Sayon. Y'all can look him up.
Yeah.
And
Oh my God. Yeah.
this was in front of a whole community of like 5,000 people in broad daylight. Kind of like the video, except like 5,000 people witnessed it. And we all went down to the 122 precinct to give our testimony. And you know what happened to them officers? Nothing. 5,000 witnesses. Nothing. And we rioted and everything like that in our little neighborhood and all that for like 3-4 days, and then nothing. And then you have the other guy. I forgot the one that actually they keep talking about. I Can't Breathe. That got choked out. Eric Garner. Yeah. So then you have Eric Garner happen a couple of years later. And I can tell you where he got choked out is literally right next to the 122 precinct. And they literally killed him the same way they killed the other gentleman. Yeah, over cigarettes, over loose cigarettes. So our mentality is being screwed with because here we keep seeing ourselves, meaning our male image, being torn apart. Yeah, being torn apart. So I'm like 43. That happened when I was 15. So that's been a lot of years. Ever since that day, I see a black man get murdered. Boom, boom, keep going. And now I'm like, after what I saw yesterday, I'm already like, man, I'll be damned if they try to cuff me because that's crazy. Like that.
It's not just the men. When it's open season on children, because you look at Trayvon Martin, you look at Tamir Rice, who was like 12, who was playing with a toy gun in an open carry state. All right.
And the women too, bro. And the women too.
Oh my God, the women too.
They don't even have to leave the house. The women don't even have to leave the house. How many news reports has it been where some cops were doing a knock warrant and not even identify themselves, come in shooting women and little girls? Come on, son.
Well, there was the black woman on Facebook. They murdered her in front of her child. I forgot her name. And there's always been some suspicion around that because she tried to warn people about those police was doing something to her, and nobody would listen. And they showed them at her house and murked her on Facebook Live in front of her children. I can't recall her name, but I'm saying that when we look at
Taylor as well.
Right? That was recently. Yeah, that was recently. But when we look at the long list of people, this is why you can understand why it's time to go. Because the powers that be don't understand this one fact. And this is why you got these riots going all over the country right now. Since these people rioting, most of them I'm assuming are like 20, under 25, right? So they've been indoctrinated when they was born, when they was 1 year old. It's the year 2000. They see black men killed. 2002, they see a black man killed. Nothing happened. 2003, 4, 5. So they got almost as much time as we got, but they've been indoctrinated in seeing black men killed, nothing happening, and at the same time, they give them the black male celebrity, the black male athlete, rapper, actor, and they say these is your cool people. And at the same time, I don't want to say this philosophically, but it's like the reason why these people are out tonight is because they see that white supremacy is tearing down their quote unquote gods, right? If you keep putting the black man as like the supreme ideal of coolness, of hipness, and then at the same time, you can show him being put down like a dog to the point where these people were like, oh, nothing's going to happen. We just go home. That will enrage the people. And that's what's happening. And that's why it's time to go, because the powers that be, that hasn't even registered yet. I don't know what they're planning. They're probably going to be the military. Going to probably be on the streets by Monday. I don't know what they're planning, but the fact that hasn't even registered in their mind that all these people are under 25 years of age tells me that we got bigger problems, or there's a different agenda that we can't even comprehend. There's something going on we can't even.
There's a siege mentality to our existence in this country, where, and just to piggyback on your point, and I see people putting names and listing stuff up in the comments, and one I want to point out is Botham Jean, the young man who was killed in his own apartment. I think that's the guy that was killed by the white female cop, who was insisting that she was in his apartment, and she came in and came in and bucked him. And it's just like there's a consistent wearing down of the emotional state and the mental state of Black men and women in this country. And that whole process is something that needs to be addressed within the community. But the outside world isn't helping. And it's constant, especially when you look and you see people like you, especially when you look and you see, hey, it's little Black girls. Hey, this woman could have been could have been my sister, could have been my aunt. This is another human being that looks like me, and this thing was done to. And almost every time, and here's the other thing, the important thing is that almost every time, on the rare occasion, somebody will be punished for it. They will never be punished to the full extent of the law, but they will be punished.
Acquittal.
But most of the time, there is no punishment. If you look at the guy, Dylan Roof, who walked into that Charleston church and sat in with the people, thought these people weren't what I was expecting. They're actually nice, but killed them shot them anyway. The police came and got him and reportedly took him for burgers because he was hungry before they took him to lockup. That lets you know that our lives are not valued.
Don't forget.
Last point, right? So once you got last point,
I was gonna say, don't forget this point. Every Black person killed, just alone in the 20th century, from the 21st century, from 2000 onward, right? Everybody killed was for low-level offenses. Nothing serious. Speeding ticket, jaywalking,
like embezzlement or murder.
Giving you my ID. Nothing violent. No violent felonies at all. Huh?
You get killed for selling Lucy's?
You get killed for selling Lucy's. You get killed for jaywalking. You get killed for making eye contact with a cop. You get killed for sitting in your home eating ice cream. And to make my point about that, just to show you, look, they tried to get that cop lady off that killed Botham Jean, right? But think about it. She got lost with the gun. So in her mind, she got lost, right? So right there, she's unculpable. She's not a cop no more. Because here you telling me you have a gun and you got dementia at the same time.
You don't know where you live.
You don't know where you're at in your own home.
Okay, so guys, look. So because there's a lot of people, what I'm gonna do, like everyone that's signed out, I'm gonna free up the call and get these last 5 people on, and then we're gonna have to move on, right?
All right,
so guys, thanks for calling, man.
Guys. Good night.
I have one more thing to say.
Good night, Mom.
All right, go fast.
Okay, look. At the end of the day, we need to look inside and help ourselves. After we're able to help ourselves, then we need to help our community. No one's going to do it for us. We have to do it ourselves.
Understood.
That's it.
Agree.
All right, guys. So let me just get these guys on to get you guys to talk, and then I'll jump out. So 1, 2, 3. Okay. Yeah. So guys, please share a position.
I'll start with me. Oh, okay, go ahead.
No, go ahead, because I need to calm down from this whole Floyd thing.
Then I'll go ahead. Okay, first I want to say thank you, Ronzo, for having me here. I've been watching your channel for about a year and a half now, and as you can see, I did get my passport, preparing myself to leave. I was once a victim. I was once a victim of police brutality at a young age. I was like around about 15 going on 16, 2005, 2006, I believe. And I'm going to tell you what happened. I was riding my bike on my way to my cousin's house, and the police saw me now. They drove their cars, knocked me off my bike. Now I ended up on the hood, and they got the car, grabbed me, and slammed my head, put pressure on my head on the car, and I'm only 15 going on 16. I ain't did nothing wrong. So then they grabbed me. The other guy got out the car, grabbed me, and helped him handcuff me to the pole. And they start smacking me, spitting in my face, called me a nigger. So I experienced this at a young age. So the crazy part about it is I felt so helpless, and everybody else was just sitting there watching. They're like, wow. And as this go on, I'm just angry. I'm just staring at him with just me mugging him because I feel like I want to hit him, but I knew if I would have, if I even hit a head, but I probably would end up dead. So I just sit there, just took it. Then after they handcuffed me, they said, "Now they like took my head, just muffed me to say, run along, you little nigga. You free now, you little nigga." So I looked back at him like that, and I got my bike and walked home. But I'm gonna tell you this, them other guys that was on here before, some of them was good, but the other one was talking about we need to stand and fight. If you'd have brought me on here, I would have had words for them. This is not the place. This is not a place that no black man should be or have to live in. See, I'm gonna tell you now. Watch this. Watch how I use this analogy. I'm gonna use this now to show you how dangerous America is for a black man, especially a successful black man like myself. You know how in that game of tic-tac-toe, when it's like that person got you in a position, it don't matter what moves you make, you still gonna lose, right? They're two-way. That's how it is with the police on one end and the gangs on another. Because you notice they not killing no gang. You don't hear them killing no murderer, no black man that murder his own black brother. They killing successful men who trying to make a difference. The man who trying to show our people the way that this is how we achieve true power, by trying to play by the rules. Because like life is like a game. Once you learn the rules and by hopefully, well, at least I was falsely understood as a kid. That's what I was taught. You can get ahead and make a change, but over the years, all I see is consensual stupidity and sincere ignorance within our own community. So this is why I say I don't care what nobody else say. Because you was born in the country doesn't mean it's your own country. Because you born in a particular place doesn't mean your own place. Your home is what you make it. Okay? Now watch this. I know some of y'all might not believe in God. Watch how I use this to show you something. Remember the coming of Christ, right? It was a prophecy. King Herod III, he was having the kids from age 2 to, I believe, from birth to from birth, coming out the womb to 3, all the boys murdered because he trying to find the Messiah Christ to kill him before he grew up in the age where he will become the new king and free the people in a spiritual sense. Now watch this. God had Joseph to help lead him out of that his own place of out of a place where he's supposed to be being born at, brought him to another place where he can be born and he can be raised. So what I'm saying is, this place where we've been born at doesn't mean it's our home. Your home is where you make it. I'm telling you right now, me as a young successful black man, again, you see, I'm preparing to get the heck up out of here because I'm afraid for my own life. You don't see no thugs getting killed by cops. I'm gonna tell you why. Because they under their white supremacist influence. Remember back in the days of the Black Panther. Remember in those days, they brought the drugs and they taught our own people. They took our people who was uneducated, teach them how to sell drugs. Told us that, hey, that black man over there, he's your enemy because he's trying to make more money from you. He's trying to take everything that you stand for, and that's what caused the rivalry. So right now we in a position, I would say a true state of emergency, not so much the economy, everything. We're in a state of emergency for our life, and this is the time that we need to get our stack your money and get the hell up out of here, because you can't fight against a system that's already been picked against you. You can't. I don't care how civilized you are or how successful you are. It don't matter what doctrination you receive or what education you receive. It don't matter nothing. You still render powerless because of this, your melanin, because of the color of your skin. They do not care. They ain't gonna put a gun at you, say, hey, what's your highest degree? oh, now for the kid because you got a master's or a doctor's degree. No, they finna shoot you or beat the hell out of you because you black. This is why I tell everybody, please do what you need to do and leave like I'm trying to leave. This is why I watch Black Experience in Japan, because I'm trying to get more information so I can figure out how to conduct my business and how to go about moving abroad, because this, I'm telling you, this is not the place that you need to get comfortable. Why you think they promoting these gangster movies and police kicking in white police kicking in a black people's door, and we often been betrayed as drug dealers or get handcuffed and stuff? They trying to psychologically reprogram your mind to become desensitized to what's about to happen to you, so you get comfortable. So when that happens, you'll be surprised. It's all a psychological manipulation. Do anybody disagree? Agree?
Steven, are you ready? Or back? Anyone else can chime in.
Well, everything that I have to say. Oh, go ahead.
Oh, go ahead.
I tuned in earlier. You guys were talking about the Nat Turner Rebellion. I actually live in Southampton County, mainly Cortland, Virginia. It used to be called Jerusalem. It's where the Nat Turner Rebellion started at. I think there's like a really common misconception in the Black community when it comes to the Nat Turner Rebellions. I know I see a lot of like pro Nat Turner talk on like YouTube and various, related videos and whatnot. And the main history behind Nat Turner is he was a pastor at a rural church, and essentially he was a psychopath. He murdered like 60-some innocent people, men, women, children.
Deserved.
Really? Oh, no, I mean, they were innocent people. They weren't slave owners. I mean, they were just regular average citizens at the time, just like everybody else was. I mean, they weren't white supremacists. I mean, they're just regular average people. And they went on a marching parade through the county that I live in. They beheaded the children and they stuck their head on pikes. I mean, it was really violent. It was incredibly gruesome. There's even a theory behind it that is potentially what started the Civil War. So that's all I have to say for right now. I just wanted to clarify that because somebody had miscommunicated the whole story behind Nat Turner earlier when I initially had tuned into the broadcast.
All right, man.
I must have missed that part of the broadcast. I didn't hear that story at all. I think if people want to find out more information on Nat Turner, they can look it up. There's plenty of information online. So I think it's better for you to substantiate your information online from multiple sources instead of, taking that information from somebody who's just come up here and is just giving you, their own spin on things. What I wanted to say back to what that brother was saying, first of all, thank you for putting me on, Renzo. Always appreciate it. Last time me and you spoke, we were talking about what was happening in China. And what was happening to brothers and sisters in China, people were saying, why do you even live in China? What's your reason for being there? And now people are saying, why do brothers and sisters live in America? Why stay there, right? Muhammad, the brother that was on here before, what he said, I agree with. There is no safe haven right now. Things are happening to brothers and sisters in Africa. Things are happening to brothers and sisters all around the world because there is global anti-Black sentiment that is being spread around the world and is endangering our brothers and sisters who have not committed any crime, who are educated, who are hardworking, who are just trying to make a living for their children. And they're being placed in positions where they're being discriminated against or they're being murdered unfairly. And no one should have to go through that. I told you when the last time we spoke, I moved by choice, right? And we had discussed some of the reasons why I moved. Safety is one of those reasons, right? I worry for my family back home in the States. I worry all the time, but they know why I left. I left because, like the brother said before, NYPD is the worst police force in the universe, on the planet, right? North Korea's police force isn't worse than the NYPD. It's the most incompetent, it's the most corrupt, it's the most vile police force on the planet. With that said, you can look up the information, how many cases you've had of NYPD being basically part of the mafia, how many cases you've had of NYPD abusing innocent people. You could see what they did to Abner Louima. You could see what they've done to so many others. When I was 10, and 8 of them frisked me as a 10-year-old. Why? Because I fit the description. Criminals, do you know? Apparently, NYPD has been harassing Black people since the dawn of time. Police in general have been harassing innocent people, whether they're Black and or white, for a long time. Most places you go to are not pro-police places, right? And they're not, but they'll be pro-firefighters, or they'll be pro-social workers, they'll be pro-other civil servants. Why is it that police officers, especially police officers in New York or in America, have such a bad reputation with Black and white people? Because you'll hear that, okay, you know, white people have a positive view of the police. Yeah, maybe when a Black person is involved, but when it's somebody in a white neighborhood being oppressed by the police, they have the same hostile reaction that we do, right? And it's because our police system needs to be reformed completely, not just for one group of people, but for everyone. And it frustrates me because there's a feeling of powerlessness. Like, if you're born in America, America is your country. You don't know any other country. That is your home, right? And I understand people wanting to stay and fight. But like some other people said, if you're a global citizen, right? You belong to the world, right? If you're not feeling safe in America, maybe it's time to look into a second home.
Hey,
me and my girl, we've been in Vietnam for about, I told you I've been in Vietnam 3 years on and off. We've settled in Vietnam for about 1.5 years now. We're about to buy a very nice home. It's only gonna cost us $30,000. And it really only took us 1.5 years to get this done, right? I don't own property in America. I had no intention of staying in America long-term after I went to university. I'd always been looking for an escape route and the ability to go back and forth and do business in America. But for my own safety, for the protection of my children in the future, for the necessity of needing to reform the whole justice system in America, when that happens, I'll feel safe to live in America. Until then, I feel like I have to have a second home where me and my kids can grow up in peace and not have to worry about injustice like this happening.
Okay, Vania, your position.
Hello. So something that I've been hearing, which is true, that's been reiterating on this call, is that racism is systematic. And so as of now in America, we're not going to see a change unless the Constitution is literally rewritten. We have more allies that are white and non-Black, and we have minorities using their maximum voting power. And right now, we aren't in that situation, and we don't know amongst how long we will get to that point because of the about 246 years of slavery and then a long time of segregation, and now we're in another transition point. And so I was agreeing with what one of the guys was talking about earlier about being a global citizen. I do look very young, I'm sure, to all you guys. I am 21, and as far as my career, I am investing my time and energy into the tech field. And I think it's important as a community for us to zoom out and look at what industries that we need to be in that aren't going anywhere, and investing into those industries so that we can build better lives for ourselves. But as far as leaving the country, My thought on it is what you're willing to put up with. What do you value? Your physical safety versus your emotional safety.
Yes.
What is that? Do you value? And then
Mhm.
if you're going to go somewhere else, look up look into the history of the context of what country that you want to go so that you can make those decisions about what is it that I want to put up with, and then as well as the the economy and so on. So yeah, my standpoint is looking at it from what is it are you willing to put up with as far as your physical and emotional safety and the context of the country in which you want to leave and go into, and then um, looking at the world as a global industry, looking at like field, green energy, tech, green energy, things like that, looking at what is the future and how you can participate in that.
Indeed, indeed.
Yeah.
So, Stephen,
Oh,
finally.
brother. When I saw Floyd die, I literally wanted to watch this world break in half, and I don't care what race you were. This world literally made me just want to just say I don't care anymore. Everything needed to everything needed to go. And everybody I keep saying that I keep hearing leaving and everything. Yeah, black people who were in America, we built things and it was literally burnt down to the ground. We built cities, we built economies, we built towns, we literally had a little small military when all the military people that came back from serving the wars that they didn't really need to serve. And all that was literally burnt to the ground. Actually bombed from the sky, as we know from Black Wall Street. Something literally that we built was burned down
by
through
the
bombs.
government,
Yeah, right.
by the
Through
United States
bombs.
government.
That city was the first city on American soil to be bombed from the sky. And it's like somebody wants to hide every single thing for some possible reason, like it's going to literally destroy the universe. Why hide something if it's going to be found out in the first place? That's the dumbest thing that I've literally seen just the human race and just as a self do. Everything to this point in time was all nothing but a waste of time. It was all a waste. Our people just being enslaved, period. That just broke time right there. That broke literally everything. Instead of the Europeans coming and building with us, becoming friends with the Africans, helping the Africans, we had literally bloodshed, we had body parts getting cut off, we had hangings, we had.
But you know what's the weirdest part? There was a time when Europeans and Africans had a positive relationship, where there was trade, where there were people living amongst each other. The whole ideology of the whole pseudoscience of race is something relatively new and Western, right? So there's always been discrimination. There's always been, I don't like your tribe, you don't like my tribe, I don't like your nationality. But the concept of race, as well as generational slavery, is something that really got its roots in America, right? Which is what makes America so unique. And this is all information that you can look up. Stanford has some really good papers on this that you could read from scholars who have done this research. It's something that's what makes America so unique for the Black people living and being born in America, right? That you're a part of this history, but it's a positive and a negative history. It's a beautiful history when you look at how much, Black people have overcome in such a short amount of time. And considering all the trauma that has been inflicted upon them, like, it's an amazing history of strength and perseverance. But at the same time, there are those who are like agent provocateurs who are wishing for a world that they themselves never grew up in, but they heard about, right? And they fantasized it, they've romanticized it. So now they wanted to go back to a way that, you know, they don't have any idea of, but they dream was great, right? They don't want to see, you know, the world progress in a positive direction where it's not, you know, race politics, but it's actually human beings coming together for the greater good. And you see that in the media here. Like there's a New York Post article that came up, and it had four people protecting a tobacco shop. Two of them were white men and two of them were black men. All four men were armed. The New York Post took a picture and they cropped out the two black men for the picture so they could say, here are these white folks protecting this tobacco shop from all these black looters. So they could run that agenda of divisive kind of, you know, racial identity politics to hurt us all as people, right? Yep. This country belongs to the average man. It does not belong to, you know, just the wealthy elite. And that's who the police are there to protect. The wealthy elite. And there needs to be a whole criminal justice reform.
I just want to piggyback off of that.
Go ahead. Somebody
as far as being disenfranchised and the overall reform of the criminal justice system. I think by design that the criminal justice system and the federal government are set up the way they are due to an oligarchy run by billionaires in this country. I think at this point they've perfected the level of slavery when it comes to the people that are lower and middle class. I don't even think it's so much as a racial issue at this point. I think the richest people in this country by design have targeted me, you, everybody else. I'm not rich. I don't claim to have any white privilege. I mean, I made like 35 grand last year. I'm not rich. I live in rural Virginia. I'm not racist. The only thing I'm conservative on are gun rights. I know for a fact that my life would be a lot simpler if the federal government had less power. The Federal Reserve would be abolished. And to be honest, I think the only way to really fix things in this country is to have a violent revolution like our ancestors did, to fight for our rights, to overturn things. The federal government, the state government, they don't have our best interest in mind. I mean, at the most, the local government is the only thing that really impacts me where I live at. I know, you know, a lot of people live in metro areas. And, you know, I actually grew up kind of semi in the ghetto. If you look up Franklin, Virginia, my grandparents have been a resident of the same house for 67 years now. It used to be a white community, but it's currently a black community. That side of town actually used to be like a huge plantation. It's currently where the police department's at. Yeah, this is really screwed up. The one police department that we have in our area, it's directly in the middle of the ghetto. They don't even patrol any of the white parts of town. It's just entirely African-American complexes. And in the ghetto, they even in, you know, rural areas, primarily racism being a bigger deal, especially with it being in the South. It's just it's a major issue. But yeah, like I said, I see a lot of people in chat harassing me based off the way that I look, and I think that's like kind of contradictory to the whole message of, you know, you guys being here in the first place and trying to seek some positivity out of all these negative outcomes that are currently going on in the news and the world as a whole. And, you know, I'm just a regular dude, just like you people are. I'm not, you know, I don't have any ill will towards anyone. I'm actually here. I've been watching this guy's channel for like a pretty long time now. I really, you know, incredibly invested in like the future of just your average person, and that's why I'm here. So, you know, I don't hold any ill will against anyone, and I would just expect the same in return.
Yeah, I think you could understand with everything going on. Yeah, I think you can understand.
Oh, yeah, I mean, I understand why
with everything going on. You know, people are concerned about trolling. People are concerned about, you know, people who are going to like make a. You understand, yeah.
Yeah, no, I entirely understand.
But I think everybody just wants positive.
No,
don't worry.
Conversations,
look,
ideas, building. It doesn't matter who the
I got this
person.
under control. No worries. Any final thoughts? Because there's some more people. I just want to get like everyone that come on a chance, give everyone a chance to speak. Anyone else want to
Well,
like final thoughts?
I have a question. I just have a question. I don't have no final thought. I just have a question. My question is like, let's say if I do want to travel to Japan, because that is the place I always think about going, because I like anime and stuff. Like, what is your advice on how much money to bring if I was to make that one-way trip?
There's a group. Let me hop onto a Facebook group and also DM me as well. We're gonna be doing some stuff, so check that out because I have to get like the specifics right. So I just dropped a link in the description. I believe it should be functional hyperlink. So check it out.
Hey, I just want to answer this guy's question right quick because I could actually help him. If you go online right now to Groupon.com, you can get a TEFL certification. You can go to any Asian foreign country with a TEFL certification and get a job teaching English to the Asian students. You don't need a bachelor's degree. There's a lot of like private schools that will hire you with just a high school or GED education. It's a 120-hour course through Groupon. You can pay anywhere between $10 to $30 for the course. It's a 120-hour course. It automatically qualifies you to be able to teach English in Japan, China, Thailand, Singapore, the Philippines, and you make good money too, at $35,000-$40,000 a year.
Okay, slow down. Okay, I need you to befriend me on Facebook so we talk that out.
I don't use any social media at all.
The thing is, it also depends though. Like the TEFL, it depends on the school as well, right? So there might be a number of schools, but it depends. Some schools require a bachelor, some schools requires a associate's degree. But I think he has a point.
Yeah.
You say Groupon?
Yeah, it's a TEFL certification. It's Teach English as a Foreign Language, and with
having
that
the American
alone, you could get
passport
a
is a
job
huge
in a foreign
advantage in
Asian
the
country
hiring
teaching English.
Okay. And one more thing, what about the resident card? I know in Japan, there has been said that foreigners have hard time finding apartments. So I do need some.
Okay, so could you send me a message on Instagram as well? So the Black XJP. So the Black XJP.
Yeah, Renzo got all that.
Yeah, we're gonna be putting out like quite a bit of information for you guys. So don't worry. The Black XJP as well. So that's something that's coming out just now. The Black XJP. Send me a DM and I can answer your question specifically, right? Because I've had challenges even renting to myself. So I can definitely speak on that. But it's not everywhere. You can ask a real estate agent to find places that accept foreigners. But it does exist. It does exist in Japan.
I want to finish my time with this. Okay. Everybody was talking about going to Africa and everything. And
just to remind everybody, over this short period, billionaires made $450 billion.
Oh, I agree. I know.
So the wealthy are taking advantage. We need to move forward and take care of our own people, our own group, and to build up. This is the perfect time to build up. COVID-19, for those of us who are going through it, now is the time to strengthen our financial situation and start making investments for the future. Absolutely, because right now, billionaires are getting richer, and those are the people who are going to be influencing what the government does to us and how they treat us. So we have to take this time now to get any money we can get and kind of strengthen our unity and strengthen our financial background so we can protect ourselves.
Indeed.
I want to create space for the next person that's going to come on, but I just wanted to thank you for creating this space for us to have this conversation and just to remind everyone to remember that knowledge is power. So remember to seek information when it comes to anything that you're approaching,
Indeed.
So yeah, thank you.
All right, take care, Vania. Thanks for coming on. Yes, Stephen.
Yeah.
When I brought that I wanted to go to Africa to my mother one day, and because I've done through this whole pandemic BS, I've been doing my research on African knowledge and African history and everything. Basically, it took me a lot further back than I wanted to go, and I learned a lot more than I needed to know, and that kind of made me a lot more. My eyes were a lot more open to these things that are just now starting to manifest itself. And she said this one thing to me that I literally switched every feeling off. It said, why do you want to go to Africa and you're mostly Native American? And as soon as she said that, every fiber of my being literally cut off. And I said, why the fuck does that matter? I wasn't born on a reservation. I have no connections with them. So it's like I don't give a damn about them at this point. Because at this moment I'm not treated like them. I'm treated like a black man. I am a black man. I am an African. The first thing that I want to do is to go to a culture that I've never experienced before, a culture that's very, very foreign to me. I've only been on a reservation once, and it was very different to me. And for some reason, I didn't feel accepted at all. And then when I went to Africa during the year of return. I felt more accepted there than I've been anywhere. Just by there being people that look just like me. I was the most comfortable. I literally never felt any more comfortable. And then when I came back here, this happens. And now I just want to watch everything burn down to the ground. Because at this point, this world has shown that to me that nobody gives a damn anymore. Everybody is in here for their own personal gain. There may be a few people that really want to group up and they want to be this family and their people and everything, but now it's just everything so screwed up from just those 400 years. It's going to be very, very difficult, period, just to regain any fiber of what was at this point. That's all I got to say about that.
It's definitely not going to happen in our generation.
Oh,
we're going to be dead and gone before everything is fixed.
That's why I say I'm waiting on the asteroid.
Yeah.
I'm waiting on it. And whatever it is, it's going to be dark as hell in the sky, and I hope that no camera gets it. Because at this point, I think we need a restart.
2036.
All right, Steven, respect, man. All right, so anybody else? Let's see. We have 1, 2. Okay, let me just get 2 more people on. So Dalton, I'm gonna let you go as well, and then I'm gonna get the final. Wait, let's see. This is gonna be the final one.
All right,
thanks
nice
for coming
talking
on,
to you.
man. I appreciate it. So we have Pieces on and Alex as well, and then let's see. We have space for 1, 2. Okay, so we have 1. Okay, so yeah, guys, your position. We're winding down. Talk to me, Matt.
Yeah. Okay. Can I talk? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can.
Okay, I'll just go. A lot of things have been said, and as someone who's Nigerian American, I kind of have a different kind of way I see things. I've never had these negative interactions with the police, but I definitely know that it's happening to people that I know. So I have the privilege to still be working. I work in biotech, so I haven't been really affected by this. If anything, I'm an essential worker. So it's just very confusing to see, how, our people are being treated, or people that look like me are being treated. Some of us who are in a position who don't really see the effects of this in their own personal lives. It's very confusing because it's like I feel the sympathy and I feel angry, but I know that there's so much black wealth in America. LeBron James, Michael Jordan, we have billionaires. And it's like, if there was some kind of like black wealth fund, like I would agree that we as Black Americans, I think everyone, like, America's not really for us. But there is power. Like what the other guy was saying, that kind of like the defeatist, like there's no hope. There's so much hope. I think there's hope for us to build our own thing and just leave. I mean, if we can't do it here, or we just have to wait for all the old white men to basically like leave the planet and let the more open and loving people become the majority. It's just, I mean, I'm kind of rambling here, but it's just a very difficult situation. So I would say I agree with the leaving. I personally am not going to stay in America for very much longer. But I would advise a lot of us to use this as a moment to realize that there's a lot of opportunities. I mean, the future is digital. There's so much free information. Everyone can learn how to code. Everyone can learn how to do digital marketing, digital this. If you're an artist, learn how to do digital art. If you're a musician, I mean, there's so much, like Ronzo. I mean, he started this on YouTube 20, 30 years ago. You couldn't do this. You had to have connections. You had to know people. And it's just, there's so much opportunity. Like we could, if as a people, we all decided today was the day that we didn't take this anymore and we made people respect us financially, they wouldn't treat us like this. Let's just be honest. And I mean, I don't want to ramble, so that's all I really got to say. I agree. Right now, the way things are, I would agree there are better opportunities abroad for, I mean, not even just Black Americans, but people in general. I mean, income inequality in the U.S., it's just a big mess financially. So I would advise people to think about the global. It's a global game at this point. So I'll just leave it at that.
All right, thanks, Matt. Anyone else?
Yes, can I speak? I just want to give a perspective from somebody who is a mom. So I'm older than you guys, and I'm also a woman. So we've been hearing a lot of men's opinions. And from a mom's perspective, and also from the perspective of somebody who's a first generation immigrant, I'm from Jamaica, and I came to America believing the American dream. And the belief in that American dream included believing, that the racism was going to decrease. And I actually, I kind of bought into the white supremacy propaganda that said that Black people were doing badly because they didn't apply themselves, that they were creating a lot of their own problems. This is what I believed when I first came here. And then as time went along, I got a really good understanding of the Black American experience. Because Jamaicans were slaves also, right? But we didn't have the same after slavery experience as Black Americans did. And a lot of Black people who come to this country, and a lot of immigrants of other races who come to this country, they don't understand that the Black negative experience did not end at the end of slavery. Black Americans did not get a break, okay? Slavery ended, and all the other ways of oppressing them or to enslave them continued. Slavery really never ended, really. It's a lie. And I'm going to be honest with you and tell you that America is built on multiple lies. The American dream is a lie, because the American dream is a nightmare. I'm sorry. I'm just going to keep it real, okay? And on top of that, when I was looking to get married, there were no Black men to be found. You know why? Because there's a system to destroy Black men in this country. I'm telling you, there's a system to destroy Black men. So if you're a Black woman and you're going to university, at least back when I was going to university, there were no Black men in the universities. And I'm sure it's probably the same for young Black women right now. That's why there's so many educated Black women who are unmarried. Okay, so there's a system that, you hear people talk about it. If you're in the Black community, you hear it a lot. Okay, so if you're not a Black American, you're not necessarily in the middle of the community. So you're just on the sidelines hearing the whispers about it. The systematic destruction of Black people is not a surface thing. It's not a small thing. It's very deep. It's spiritual. It's economical. It's in every way. The prison system is for profit. The music and the educational system is tied to the prison system. So it's a very intricately woven web of destruction. Okay, and there's a lot more to it that I know, but I'm not going to go into it because I know not everybody's interested in the spiritual side of it. So I'm not going to go into it. But we are special people, and that's why, despite all the deeply woven web to destroy Black people, has not fully destroyed them because we are special. We're a special people. I'm not going to go into it because I know everybody doesn't want to hear it. But I'll tell you, one thing I want to tell you guys, which I didn't think about when I was getting married and having children. You can't have your children in a place where they're never going to be accepted as a human being and as a citizen. So it's great that you're moving to Asia and that you're being treated with respect and dignity right now. But even if your children are treated well and if they never experience any racism, the problem with moving to Asia is that your child's never going to feel like they belong there and their identity is not going to be secure. So I'm just telling you, it's nice to be in a place that's civilized, unlike America, which is not civilized. But it's from my experience of living here in America, growing up here. I moved here when I was 11 years old. And what I can tell you is I've never felt like I belong in this country because Black people are hated. And now when I look back at my life, I wish I had never come to this country. I wish I had stayed in Jamaica. And now I regret the fact that I have done nothing to help my country develop. So if you're going to choose to go to a non-Black country, at least find a Black country that you think you could live in. Spend a part of the year there and do something to help them develop so you have an option of a place to go when you get to a certain place in your life and you realize that where you are is not really that great for your children and for you. That's all I can say. All right. Thank you guys for giving me the opportunity to speak.
No problem, peace. No problem. Take care. Yeah, so any other positions? If you guys want to chime in, again, I'm a facilitator, so if you guys want to chime in or you want to come with an original thought, that's fine.
Hi, so I just wanted to talk about, with how a lot of people are saying that they want to move to Asia or Africa or any other country right now, like any other place right now. And I feel like we're not being aware, we're not really aware that, if we're moving to another country, like we have to not just like buy land or just rent and just, live our lives like as an individual and not care about the community. We should also contribute to the community that we are residing in, and in some way or form, because I feel like what ends up happening is that the people that are native there, that have been living there, have been trying to like get a better life, they just see you as like a person who just came from a better country with more money, and you're just having a better life. They're gonna be jealous and they're just gonna hate you. And what I want to say is that, if just be mindful of that, because it's a very easy thing to get mad at someone just because they might be in a better position than you in life. So definitely give back to the community that you move into in some way or form. So it's not just you just sticking, like, I feel like the American mindset is so individualistic and that you only care for yourself. So we need to not just worry about ourselves. We need to also reach out and care for the community that we now reside in. So.
Yeah, can I piggyback on that? Because that's so well said. Because I mean, a lot of this is because there's so much wealth inequality, so that when tragedy strikes like this, there's the communities that are like, like the Black community, minority communities that are the most vulnerable, they get, treated the worst, they get left behind. I mean, even the COVID-19, just the way Black people, when they go to the hospital, they're just not getting the same type of treatment. And obviously with the police, it's just, a lot of this is just stemming from power and, not thinking about, distribution of your wealth, trying to help people who need it. So yeah, I like people who want to move to other countries, like Vietnam or some of these other Asian countries that might be cheaper to live in. Just realize that you don't want to kind of perpetuate the American game of, taking your power, your wealth that you have, and then using it to, become an oppressor in another country in a different way.
Indeed, indeed. This guy in the blue shirt, there's no name, so.
My name is Joshua
Me?
Schumate. I live in Northern Michigan. 20 years old. I'm just gonna start by saying that predominantly there's nothing but white people all around Northern Michigan. That's
Your mic is muffled, so I'm not sure if you're covering it with your hands or your audio
Yeah, I
just
can't
went.
hear him.
hold on. I'll connect my headphones really quick. Can you hear me?
Yep, it's a lot better.
Okay. Well, I just want to start off by saying that the area that I live in is mostly white. Literally, when I say that there's like 20 or 30 black people up here, I mean that. And my point is that between the races, there's so much division and blaming, and this guy caused it, and this race is, the root cause. But really, it's like the issue is that the family division itself, father, mother, son, daughter. In the black community, especially, there's no family. There's a reason why most black dads aren't in the home. It's because the government, everything is built to break the family. You can oppress an entire race just by taking out the family unit. And up here, if you walk into a fellow black person, they're so deceived that they outright hate you. And when I say that, I mean that. They're scared to communicate to you. It's because there's so much brainwashing. And this is not just Northern Michigan, but it's countrywide. And when I say that there's division, I mean just like white people in general. If you're black up here, there's no way you can get into a clique. You can't find friends. It's just you and your family isolated. And honestly, I feel like with the riots, it wasn't about George Floyd. It was just a power move to loot and steal and take and kill and destroy Minneapolis. That's all that it was. I mean, if it was about anything other than George Floyd, why do you think it is that people are trying to start riots? Like I was saying, in Upper Michigan, Marquette is the capital of Upper Michigan, basically. And it's peaceful up here. It's very peaceful. And they're trying to start riots in Marquette. You'd never hear about something like that up here. And it's all a plan to destroy the family unit, like I said. And right now, I'm so scared for my safety. I'm 20 years old. I'm supposed to be going to college. I want to get the fuck out. I don't want anything to do with America. Like Vietnam, that's where I want to go because I don't feel safe. And I'm so ready to leave. I could rant, but I'll stop it here.
Wow, man. Alex?
Thank you for having us on and being able to talk. And I just kind of wanted to talk about kind of my journey with accepting privilege, because I'll tell you, it was a very long time until I kind of understood my privilege. And I'm living in Texas, so it's a southern state, and it's a state that it's kind of famous for our kind of crazies. We got Waco and all the other kinds of stuff over here. But I just wanted to say that coming to terms with that is like a pretty hard thing to do, I think, because we kind of live in a bubble. At least as a white male, you live in a bubble that you don't really see like the same struggles. You have to kind of hear stories, and you're like, wow, that can't happen. Like the police wouldn't do that. And then you see friends. Like I had a friend who had an incident, like one of my personal friends who had an incident with these kind of things, and it was really surprising. And it kind of started me on this like journey of awakening to kind of just accept it and see it, not challenge it, and believe people. And I think another reason it's so hard for a lot of white people and white males in particular is because history does not tell anything but our story. You know, our history is written from our perspective. It's always written from a Western perspective, a kind of, you know, male domineering, wealthy perspective. And, you know, when I was, you know, thinking about it, because personally my background is in history and in politics. And you know, I don't really have like a certain region. I just kind of, whatever interests me, I'll travel on. But one thing, when I was kind of going through middle of college was like, you know, kind of just coming to one day and it's like the only history I really know about Africa is colonialism. And, you know, maybe Egypt and North Africa, but I really had to think about that and say, well, there's others. I know there has to be other stuff because history didn't begin 1500, 1700. You know, that's kind of a weird perspective that we have, or at least I had. And I think, you know, you kind of have to read different people and, you know, hear different stories. Like I had never heard of Biafra in Nigeria. I had never heard of that whole story, but you know, it's an important event that we don't really talk about in America, especially, but in the West in general. Something that I think is, you know, interesting to look at. And kind of going to my point of like awakening with kind of stuff like this is you have to read like Frantz Fanon. I don't know if that's, you know, familiar to any of y'all, but
Yes.
he's a very, very good author. Yeah. And like reading it, he's an amazing author too, but reading him, it was just amazing how he could describe something that was so alien to me, but you know, you could believe it. You could see his story, his struggle, and how he frames it in a mind, you know, not my own, but something I thought was interesting to look at, and I just kind of wanted to share that.
All right, cool, X. Anyone want to chime in? Anyone else want to chime in? Because I'm just
Yeah,
trying to.
I want to say something. I've lived in Japan for 30 something years. I'm in the United States right now because my parents are getting a little older and I felt the need to come back. But I still maintain a residence in Japan. And I wanted to talk to some of the younger people that, especially African Americans, who feel the need to explore something outside of themselves as a solution. I love America in certain ways, but I also hate America like a lot of us do. But you know, when a person decides to leave this country and they go to Japan, they have to show their vulnerabilities. They have to strip their armor and really reconnect with who they are before that they can go forward in establishing themselves in that country, learning the language, learning the culture, and really getting back into who they are, because we are very resilient people. We can be put in a situation where we can succeed, but we also have to put in place certain measures and ways to go forward and create value for yourself in that country. A lot of people say, "Oh, I need to buy an airplane ticket to Japan, and all of a sudden I'm going to go there and teach English and all that." You know, for me, when I went to university in Japan, I knew exactly who I wanted to get with. I wanted to get with doctors, attorneys, politicians, business leaders, because I knew at one time I was going to have to be able to utilize my network as being a non-Japanese person to succeed. You know, so for me, I just want a lot of these young people to know that you can succeed in a foreign country, but you have to be willing to open up yourself to who you really are and not what this identity that America has placed on your head, because that's not who we are. I've also lived in Ghana, and it was a wonder, like another person in the forum said, it was beautiful to go to Africa and see people that look just like you. But again, I just want people to know that you can succeed, but it's going to take a lot of hard work. You know, my company, I've worked with a lot of young people, took them over to Ghana, and, you know, they were just sort of like, still not raw. They're going over with like a hip hop mentality. Look at me, look at that. They weren't really looking at the communities and giving back to the communities. It was all about me, me, me. So when you go to Japan, when you go abroad, just be open and willing to learn about that culture and go forward in a very successful way. And you'll be fine. You can do it.
Thanks, Al. Anyone want to chime in on that? I see you smiling, Christy. You want to say something? No?
Yeah, I really feel like it applies to me. So yeah, I really would like take that advice to heart. And I would say like a great way for like us young Black Americans here is like study abroad and like travel as much as you can, save up, do not spend your money on stupid stuff. Get coffee can wait. You know, I am glad that I have a friend that's very, I like to call him a global citizen because he has that mindset. So definitely spark up conversation with people. If you want to travel to a different country, like now is the time to do that. Well, after the quarantine, I used to say that.
True.
Also, I've been seeing a lot of comments about, yeah, like going to Africa, but like, you know, we should also like take the time to educate ourselves with the fact that there's 54 countries in there. There's different people groups, different cultural norms, mannerisms, things that they like, don't like. So we should really take our time to read up on their different cultural groups. They are very, like the entire continent is very diverse, and we should really take the time to honor their legacy and their history by learning about that. So yeah.
All right, guys. So I got another group of people coming on. So thank you guys so much for coming on. I appreciate it.
Can I just say
Any
one more
last
thing?
final thoughts? Yeah.
I just want to see if, like, maybe for the next group, if someone can address like how we can, as people, try to learn how to kind of gather wealth and kind of create something. So it's great that we're all going to go out and maybe be successful individually, but let's not forget that maybe at the end of the day, the reason why we're being all treated so poorly is we don't have the unity. We're not building wealth together. I mean, we have, I guess I'll harp on this again. We have so many wealthy Black people, but still it's like it just doesn't matter for some reason. Maybe we're not lobbying enough. Maybe we're not playing the game correctly or something. But as we go out and try to seek opportunities outside, let's not forget that we're still Black people and that we still need to kind of work towards some kind of global improvement of the Black people.
Can I say one thing? Can I say one thing? And it's going to be something similar to what he just said. I think Black people need to change their mindset. I mean, the whole world has changed. We have a global market now. I mean, Ranzo has this channel. You can become a digital marketing person without a lot of training, because there are platforms that are set up that allow you to easily market products globally. We should see the value of over 1 billion Black people across the world, and don't just look at your country or your community as your potential market. We need to really get focused that way. And there are many countries in Africa where there are lots of opportunities. We're talking about 54 countries, and then we have the Caribbean, and there's Polynesia, you know, the whole area with Fiji and all those places. Those are all potential customers for you. And that's where we should really get savvy, because there are really a lot of opportunities. And that's where we need to change our mindset. And it's not about wealth. Dollars don't really buy you peace. You can live in a mansion and not be happy. I've lived in a mansion, and I've also lived in the countryside in Jamaica with no electricity. And I'll tell you that the mansion wasn't better than no electricity in the mountains. So don't be intimidated if you go to a country and it's developing. A developing country, when you see things that they're missing, those are marketing opportunities for you. And that's really how you should see it. And not think about, if you go to an African country and they don't have electricity all year or all week or all month, don't see it as the end of the world. Just adjust. if that's a place that you can find peace and be seen as a human being and have dignity. It's not, you can have all the fancy things here in America, but you will never have dignity and you'll never have any respect and you'll never be considered a human being. So that should really motivate you to find your peace somewhere else. Things aren't everything. Things don't bring you peace and happiness. Money doesn't bring you peace and happiness. And it's really important to find peace and happiness without things. Okay? I'm hoping it made sense. Thank you so much.
Yeah, no problem, Peace. Thanks for coming on.
Mhm.
Indeed. Okay, guys, any final words? So I think Matt said something, Peace, Christy as well. Al, any final words? And Alex? And then I'll move on to the next group.
Yeah,
Final
thanks
thoughts?
for
No?
having me.
Okay.
Yeah, just thanks for
All right,
having
guys,
me
thanks for
on.
coming on.
It's been a pleasure.
All right, take care, guys. So let's see. Okay, the final group, okay? So 1, 2, 3, 4. And let's see. Yeah. And wait, one more person. Just hop on. Okay, so this is it. The final group, guys. Final group. Yeah, so let me hear your positions, guys, and then we can move on.
Well, I guess I'll jump on first here. First things first, I don't know if I'm one of the few, but I actually currently live in Africa right now. So I guess I would be the guy advocating to move to
Oh, Lou
Africa.
Major. Well, Lou Major, that's your name, right? That's you?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yes.
Talk to us, man.
Yes. So I think one of the biggest issues that I'm finding is that, first of all, I want to start off by saying I support what you're doing with the Black experience in Japan. And I've watched your videos, but one of the things that comes up on your videos pretty frequently in all of the Asian countries that you go in is though maybe Black people are doing well, maybe Black people have, good experiences in Vietnam, for example, but there's always that consistent reminder that that place does not belong to you. And you will be reminded of that on a fairly frequent basis. And what I think one of the things that an Italian guy said this to me when I was really, really young. And at the time I was offended, but I think what we're seeing now proves it. The reason that Black people, our people, is hated all around the world has actually very little to do with our skin color. And it has everything to do with the global perception of the fact that we as a people are very, very weak. And everyone hates weak people. And I'll give you, in a way to actually implement that in a practical sense that you would understand, is think back when you were in high school and think about the kid who got picked on by everybody. Maybe you did not have a personal issue with that particular child who was getting picked on by everybody. And if you were that kid, you were getting picked on by everybody. But nobody wanted to be that person's friend. And the reason no one wanted to be that person's friend was because the perception of that person being weak. And the fact of the matter is, we as Black people, and this is global, are perceived as weak because of the fact that we are. I'll give you an example. We get shot in the streets like dogs. George Zimmerman shoots Trayvon Martin. Do you think if George Zimmerman had shot, say, a Russian person that way, would George Zimmerman be alive right now? The answer is no. If this cop who just killed George Floyd in broad daylight in front of everybody, do you understand that people watched this man kill this man for 9 minutes and did absolutely nothing? Do you think that would have happened if that was in any other racial community, that they would have watched a cop kill one of their own and do absolutely nothing? And in the end, is anything going to happen to that police officer? Is anybody going to put hands on him? No. When you tell the world over and over again that you are perfectly content with being a victim, then why the hell should they respect you? And in addition to that, the idea of leaving America is the correct decision. But the fact that people want to go to another racist country and help build their economy rather than going into their continent, which has 40% of the world's natural resources, that's building everybody else's economy, only stresses more to everybody else how weak we are. Rather than, because what we're saying to the world is one or two things, that we would rather be disrespected and lose our dignity and be humiliated on a day-to-day basis than for us to do the actual work of building something for ourselves. So if you really are tired of being humiliated every single day, the way you stop being humiliated is that you build something for yourself and stop asking for somebody else to build something for you, or going and trying to receive benefits in something that somebody else built. Japan is great, but the Japanese built it. Vietnam is great, but the Vietnamese built it. Africa is the only place where everybody looks like you. It has 40% of the world's natural resources. It is bursting in natural opportunities because it lacks in so many things. And the way that you gain wealth is the ability to supply something that people need or want. But the fact that Black people will choose Europe or any other place on the planet than to go to the one place that belongs to them that has all the resources tells everybody else on the planet we're both weak and stupid, and that we don't necessarily want to put into hard work to build something of our own. Because if you don't want to get shot like a dog by the police, if you don't want to be humiliated all the time, if you don't want your kids to feel like they don't belong, which they will feel anywhere in the world that is not their own, then you have to do the hard work of educating your own kids, building your own institutions, building your own communities, building your own businesses, and building up your own country. China 40 years ago was incredibly poor. Why is China rich? Well, it started off with Chinese businessmen in the diaspora of China, building factories in China in their economic free zones to allow China to become rich. So if you're not willing to do the same thing for your own continent, i.e. Africa, going to Vietnam will not solve your problem. Going to Japan certainly won't solve your problem. You'll still just be putting in yourself a position where you're at the dependency of another group that doesn't look like you, versus going to Africa, putting in the hard work, dealing with the inconveniences, and building something for yourself. And until you're willing to do that, we will continue to be the most disrespected and humiliated group all over the world, because we are unwilling to put in the work that it would be required to build something of our own so that we could have respect on a global level. And people will continue to look at us the way they look at us because they will perceive us as weak, because we will never defend ourselves. As I said, you make an example out of the next cop that kills a Black person, the chances are cops will think twice about killing Black people. But if you just cry and say about how sad you are and, oh my God, I can't believe it, and maybe do a march or something, then you know what's going to happen? They're going to kill the next one. They're going to kill us over and over and over again because there's no consequences to them. That's why we're disrespected and hated.
The last one thing I want to ask you before I move on to someone else, because someone else says, tell me about your journey briefly from America to Africa. Tell me about your journey, the motivation, all that.
So I'll tell you about my journey. I graduated college, 12 years ago. I got into Wall Street, and Wall Street is one of the most racist places on the planet. But I'm really, really good at math, and I'm good at what I do. I ended up getting picked up. I ended up getting picked up at Goldman Sachs. Eventually, they sent me back to Harvard Business School. I started moving up the ranks. Then I got picked up by a hedge fund, became a hedge fund guy. And after I made a lot of money, was living a great life. And I dealt with a lot of racism on Wall Street, but I accepted it because of all of the money I was making. I came from an impoverished background, just like most Black Americans. And I was willing to accept the disrespect that I was taking for the sake of the money that I was getting. And then one day, by accident, I ended up in Africa. When I got to Africa, what I saw was poverty, but you know what else I saw was opportunity. And so what I've since done is I've moved to Africa and I've started my own hedge fund here in Africa, an opportunity that I would have never gotten. And what I do is I fund small businesses, and I bring investment capital from all over the world, and I put it into African businesses. But what I find is it's very, very, this is where I'm getting to my conclusion, because when I go to high net worth Black people, what I find is that Black people, when they hear the word Africa, they don't want anything to do with it. You tell them China, you tell them India, you tell them anywhere else other than Africa, they're down to do the business. But the moment you say Africa, it's that you Black people start like dancing like they do at a nightclub. And what I also found is when I told Asian people or white investors or Jewish investors about opportunities in Africa, they were willing to cut a check. And what I quickly found out is everybody else understands the value of your continent except you. And when people see that, I'm trying to tell you that's where the conclusions of Black people are stupid or Black people are lazy. That's where these conclusions come from.
Two questions. You said you went to Africa. I want to ask about your perception of Africa before you went, and then tell me when you say by accident, what do you mean? So those two things.
Well, I was like the typical Negro peon. I originally was planning on going, to a European country for vacation. And then what ended up happening is a series of events happened, and that trip got canceled. And then I ended up going to Africa just on a whim. I just ended up going. I couldn't tell you what caused me to go. I'm not a particularly religious person. Some people have said maybe it was God, but no, I mean, I just picked it. I said, I'm going to pick a most random place, and I got a good deal on a ticket to Africa. I ended up going to Ghana, and voila, here we go.
So where do you reside now? You reside in Ghana right now?
I reside in Ghana, and I'm actually getting ready to move to Nigeria to work on a farm project that I actually pulled together about 80. I'm finally getting some success in getting some black money into Africa, but it came from a source that I didn't expect, which was middle class and lower class black people. And I pulled a group together, and we're doing several agricultural projects in Nigeria, South Africa, and Malawi. So I'm moving to Nigeria in January, but right now I reside in Ghana.
Okay, so your position is that the best place for people in America who want to leave, right? Who want to leave? So it's their decision. Those who want to leave, you're saying the best option is Africa, right? That's their position.
Yes, and because it actually belongs to you. Like at the end of the day, you could as an American go to the Philippines, go to Vietnam, go anywhere and maybe even live a comfortable life. You could go to Mexico and live a comfortable life, but you are helping build an economy of people that are not your people. And at the end of the day, you will always be reminded of that whenever you try to buck up too much to their against their systems. And your videos attest to that, by the way, right? Versus Africa actually that's where you come from. So why wouldn't you build up your place? Everybody else builds up their place. Do you think the Vietnamese are not trying to build up Vietnam? Do you think Chinese are trying to build up China? Do you think Japanese are trying to build up Japan? The only people on the planet who refuse to build up their own homeland are black people. And that's why we're disrespected. Wow.
There's one thing I can say that I think it was the guy, was it the prime minister or was it the president of Ghana who said, he said that the pretty much the future for black people, right, is connected to Africa, which means if Africa rises, then the perception of black people will also improve. So that's what he's saying. He's saying that we're eternally connected to Africa, and if the perception doesn't change for the continent itself, then the perception of us won't
it's absolutely
change.
true. The tree is only as strong as its roots.
But the last thing I want to say before I move on to someone else is, so your perception before going, you said you wanted to go to Europe first, but what was your perception when you thought about Africa? So you're in Wall Street, you said. What was your perception of the continent before you went?
Well, just like television.
No, but articulate it. I want you to say it. No, tell me describe it. What was it?
What my perception of Africa before I went to Africa was that it was this impoverished place, that everybody was sick and that was backwards, all of the negative impressions that are taught to you through television.
Okay, so when you visited it, what happened when you went on the ground? What happened?
I was pissed off because I realized that I was lied to, because if you actually come to Africa, you'll find that Africa is very much modern. You come to a place like Accra, it's a modern, metropolitan city. Dakar, Senegal, same. Lagos, Nigeria. I mean, there's obvious poverty, but there's also a nice mix in between. It has everything that anywhere else would have. And in addition to that, what I found out was it's a better standard of living, better food. Like all the food is organic. It's safer. I thought it was crime infested and dangerous. Man, Ghana is significantly safer than the average, city in, say, the United States of America. So, I mean, what I found is that I've been getting lied to for a very long period of time. And that was very offensive and frustrating to me, because I realized that it became very clear after maybe 2 weeks of being there that the perception that I had of Africa was intentional. It was intentional to try to prevent me, with my talent and my skills and my abilities, being trained in the West, to come to Africa, because one of the things you find out about Africa is there's misinformation on both sides, i.e. the perception that the Africans have of America itself, and in Black Americans in particular, is vastly flawed. And in the perception that you're given of Africa in general, and Black Africans in particular, is also vastly flawed. And this misinformation seems to have been going both ways, to manipulate and lie to both sides, to keep them apart from each other. That's what I quickly realized after just being there for a couple of weeks, because you started to realize that the same inferiority complex that Black people suffer in the United States, because ultimately one of the reasons that Black people are so readily available for abuse is that we suffer from an inferiority complex. We have a perception that white things are better. Things that white people make are better. So like when a Black person makes money in the United States, you know, it's the first thing he does. He moves out of his community into a white community, and he sends his kids to white schools. And so that naturally his child ends up marrying a white person, and all that wealth gets passed right back to white people. The reason that happens is we have a perception that everything that belongs to us is inferior to everything that belongs to them. So it never even crosses our mind to actually just simply build up what belongs to us. So all that Black wealth, the reason it leaves the community and goes back into the white community is those wealthy Blacks never think to just build up and fix up their own communities, or even build their own high net worth communities and build their own schools. They never think to do that because of a perception that everything we create is inferior. Well, Africans have that same perception, and what happens is when white people and Indians and Chinese go there, they in essence automatically are subservient to them because of a perception of inferiority. And that is ingrained, and it seems that it's taught to Africans and taught to African Americans, and they keep the two sides away from each other, because when the two sides get together, they start to compare notes. And what you're seeing with things like YouTube and technology is that that's exactly what's happening. You're seeing Africans and African Americans are starting to talk to each other, and they're starting to realize that all of this is some bullshit. Not all, but you're going to always have Black people. There's going to always be a lot of Black Americans in particular who's going to fall behind. They're going to be stubborn. They're going to be scared because they're more enslaved than everybody else. We're talking about 400 years of indoctrination here. But the reality is,
you've made some valid points, and there's one thing I want to ask before. There's a YouTuber as well within Ghana actually, and you may know of him. And he does, of course, he shows a lot of African. There are places that I've seen. I've never been to Africa. My plan, I was going to go this year if I can. I will still, but definitely next year I'm going to Africa, at least to visit Africa and maybe just check out some countries. But the thing is, so his videos gave me a different perception, because just like yourself, right? Just like yourself, and I'm pretty sure most Black people, what we've seen has not been the truth of what Africa is. So definitely I concur with that the image that's come out of Africa through Western media has been largely negative. Last thing. So you said you have a hedge fund. Do you want to make it public? Do you want to talk about it? Do you want to say it so people can actually maybe invest with you or whatever? Is there a link?
No, I'm not here to invest my business. I'm just here to contribute to the conversation. But that's what I do for a living. That's, you know what I'm saying? That's
okay. So anonymous. Yeah. Okay, no problem. You made some valid points. That's your position. Thanks a lot. I'm going to move on to someone else because I want to just be a facilitator. So that's why I know that the reason I asked certain questions is just to get the information out for those who are listening as well, right? So yeah, definitely. Thanks for your time.
Of course.
Who else want to chime in? Anyone wants to chime in or give a different position? Gizmo,
I was gonna. Do you hear me?
Wait. Manny. Yes, yeah, Manny, what's up? Manny, I think you turned off your audio. You just started speaking and then you muted it. Wait, Gizmo.
What up, Renzo?
What's up?
What's you seeing, Jed? Long time in the making. We finally get to link up. Big up what you're doing. Respect to everybody. Yo, I go by the name Gizmo. I'm originally from Trinidad and Tobago, born and raised, lived there till my teens. Then I moved to the United States, and this is just my story. Moved to the United States, lived in New York, Arizona, and now I currently reside in Japan, where I've been for almost a decade. What do I do here? I teach English. Now I'm doing my own English thing. I worked as an ALT for quite some time, but now I'm running my own school and doing a lot of freelance work. I'm also a creator here on YouTube, and I rap. Yeah. But anyway, jokes aside, all jokes aside, the question of should Black people leave the United States of America? Bro, our ancestors built that country. Our ancestors built that country. I can understand your frustrations and the urge to leave for your safety and all that, but like, you are entitled to be in the United States of America. We are entitled to be in the United States of America. The wealth that the United States of America possesses is directly due to slavery. Your ancestors built that country. Our ancestors built that country. You're entitled to be there. Now, to leave the United States for your safety and the safety of your family, I can understand that. And I won't be mad at you for doing that, because I live in Japan, real talk. Did I want to go back to America? I did want to go back to America, but due to all this right now, I ain't going back to America. So call me a hypocrite or whatever you want, but like, yo, real talk, you are entitled to be in America. You like your ancestors built this country. Where are you gonna leave? You're gonna leave to go to another country. Let's say you go back to Africa. Okay, that's fine. I understand that as well, but you will deal with problems. I live in Japan. I'm reminded on a regular basis that, yo, at the end of the day, I am not Japanese. You go to China, you will be reminded that you're not Chinese. Yep. All this wealth that was built in the United States, you're entitled to that. And now, if anything, is the time, because enough is enough. Like, enough is enough, bro. Like, in the 60s, when people protested, there were thugs, there were hoodlums, there were all this and that. People protested peacefully. They're still thugs, respect the flag. Enough is enough. Mans is tired, and people that are out here saying that, like, yo, rioting doesn't solve anything. Rioting is the language of the unheard, right? So it's understandable that everybody's out there like just wilding right now. But if you were to leave the United States of America to live somewhere else, you will deal with problems. The grass isn't always greener on the other side of the pasture. But they say that the evil that you know is better than the unknown evils. And we know the evil that is in the United States of America. But now the question is, what do you do to combat it? Get into politics, do different things. I saw other people saying build wealth. But like, bro, end of the day, even if you have wealth, you're rolling down the street in a BMW or something, you get pulled over. I got pulled over all the time driving my mom's whip because, you know what? Hey, black guy in a nice car or whatever, like, he's got to be a problem. Gun drawn. You have any guns? You got any drugs in the car on me? So even if you built wealth, you will still have problems in the United States of America. The thing that we got to do is build change. We need change, like, real talk. And though rioting and protesting brings about change, that's not the real issue. The issue isn't really just the police officers killing people. That's the face of the problem. But we have to look at, what do we do to resolve that? How do we get past that? You feel me? But as far as leaving America, no, bro. I wouldn't say leave America. I would say, like, now is the time to actually, enough is enough, bro. Enough is enough. I saw a meme that said Martin Luther King left the chat, Malcolm X joined. Enough is enough, by all means, but that's all up to you, man. That's all up to you. But you will deal with other problems in other countries. Going back to Africa, I can co-sign going back to Africa, but you'll probably deal with problems there. Your ancestors worked to build this country. Our ancestors worked to build that country. You're entitled to be there. You're entitled to have change. You're entitled to be outraged. You're entitled to wild out to get the change that you need. But just know that doing all this isn't addressing the core issue. Another thing I want to address, I saw y'all wilding out on people like, yo, this dude's white, bro. The best allies to have during this time are outraged white people. The tears of a white woman is the most the most dangerous weaponized thing throughout history, man. Don't come out here and instantly slam white people who have something to say. But you can ask them, what are they doing for the movement? If you out here and be like, yo, I'm sad, like, what, how you went through all that. Nah, I don't want to hear that. What are you doing for the movement? Are you on the front line? How are you planning to bring about change to all this? So those are just a few of my thoughts on all this. Is it time to leave America? Leave America and go where? Go, you leave. Yo, now is the time, if anything, to fight. I say that, bro. I would say that, bro.
Yeah, the
Now
question is just
what up?
it's not again, it's not an admonishment just for people who think like I'm advocating for this. The question is again, it's a centerpiece, right, for the discussion, because people are saying, some people are saying they want to leave, and some people are saying giving the reasons why they left, right? So I wanted this so we could have a discussion. So now we're seeing what's in the minds of people, what they're thinking. So that's what this question is for. I'm not saying y'all leave or do this or that. So I just want to make that clear again. Man,
So yeah. Hey, what's up, y'all? So I want to first address the first guy that talked regarding black people being weak. I don't think it's that, we just don't know our history. So go back to, you don't even have to go back all the way back 40 years and whatnot. Let's start in 1900s, or let's start at the Berlin Conference. So Berlin Conference goes and pretty much chops up Africa and says, hey, we're gonna colonize this and take over all the people over there. Then fast forward a little bit to 1900. 1870 after that. I mean, we black people are just now becoming, not slaves anymore and starting from scratch, zero, nothing. So after that, you have a people that has nothing but starts building and has some predominant wealth by the 1900s, and to build just local communities and local things like that. I don't think that's a weakness. You just things happen. Shoot, even in Africa, Africa just got, many countries in Africa just got their independence starting from 1950. So from 1950 to 1960, they just didn't.
Do you know how those countries got their independence?
Yes. So if you want to go back,
they took up arms and they fought for it. Yep. That means they stopped being bitches. So somebody's shooting you in the street like a dog, then you march and cry and then do nothing about it. That makes you a bitch.
Not necessarily. So if you know about Marcus Garvey, starting from everything around that time, because Marcus Garvey influenced a lot of people, just like Kwame Nkrumah, to start their revolutions in Africa. With Marcus Garvey, he was doing a lot of trying to build business, trying to do planning and stuff like that. So not to go on a whole history field trip, for me, I would consider myself a futurist. I think we need to actually build like economic networks around like the internet and building communities through just stuff like this. So we on here, but there's probably a couple of thousand people watching. So we're talking about moving places, moving here, moving there. Okay, we move to these places. What does that get us? We don't have economic networks. We don't have social networks. We don't have anything like that. So why not just build it online first, or build communities like that? Build the infrastructure, communicate with each other online.
Okay, why can't you do that from Africa?
You can do that from anywhere in the world.
I agree.
You can
So
I agree with the.
So instead of focusing on what you don't have, why don't you go ahead and make it? Again, that's why people don't respect us. Like, what we're hearing is a bunch of excuses about what we don't have and how things are hard and how it's unfair. And it is unfair. Right. I'm saying to you, if you're going to stay in America, right, which you can, then you're going to have to take space, take power. So saying like, I'm going to stay and fight, what does that mean? Or does that mean you're going to go up to, are you going to go ahead and do something about George Zimmerman? Are you going to do something? Because if you're going to just, I don't know, march, talk about how messed up it is, that's not going to do anything. We've been marching, Black America, and I'm Black American, so I can say we have been marching since 1950. Okay? We have been getting our asses beat, shot by the police. Okay, so you have a choice. if you're going to, if you could do what the Africans did to take back their land, they killed people.
Yeah.
They killed people and got killed. They went to 20-year struggles. Okay, that's the difference. So people may while what us, right, we keep waiting for somebody else to save us, somebody else to do something. So what I'm saying to you is, you have two choices. You could be willing to put blood in the street, which means your blood and their blood, which we all know you're not willing to do. You've proven for years you're not willing to do that. Or you go build something on your own.
Yo, but even when black people try to build stuff for themselves, it still got torn down. You're all talking about like
In
Black Wall
America.
Street and all that. Yeah, in America.
In America.
So,
Yeah, that's why you go someplace else and you build something.
Yeah, I totally agree with you.
I agree. I agree with the moving somewhere else.
But
It's all about
I
comfort
don't
zone.
think we utilize our tools nowadays to actually go and build correctly. So
do you know that 60% of the world's arable land is in Africa? And we have 40,000 black farmers that constantly get fucked over every single year, being sold bad seed, trying to get played out of their land. And there's 60% of the world's arable land is in Africa. What if those farmers simply said, you know what, fuck you, you could have your land, I'm going to Africa and I'm going to go farm there. Do you understand that would change food security problems in the continent of Africa? Or for example, the biggest issues in Africa right now is telecommunications networks. Do you understand we have a man named Freddie Figures, who by the time he was 32 became worth $62 million when he started his own telecommunications company in the United States, but is constantly getting fucked over by large American companies? Do you understand he could go to Africa and become a billionaire in 5 years?
And that's what I'm saying. We need to actually go out there and start.
Exactly. So instead of
hold on. What's Lou Major? Wait, let him speak for a second. Wait, I'm trying to find the name. Manny. Yeah, Manny. Your point.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. I'm not saying stay here and build whatnot. I'm saying use our networks, whether it's in Africa or whether it's other places. The thing is, we want to just go and build without having networks. So for me, I do technology. I do a lot of tech contracting and stuff like that around the world. I do that from my house. I build relationships and do stuff like that. I'm part of a large black tech network. So I'm talking to people on the continent. I'm talking to people. I do business with them. I do all this kind of stuff. You have to set up these global networks so no matter where you go, you can have the economic power and the economic networks to do what you want to do. So you bring up agriculture. Okay, yes, Africa has 60% of air and land and stuff to do agriculture. But do you know about hydroponics, where you can take that and a small amount of land and do double the amount of work just in like a warehouse? So why not get with people that know how to do that and do it like that? So that's the kind of stuff I'm actually working on.
Again, why wouldn't you do that in Africa? If you have that knowledge, why wouldn't you go to Africa where that knowledge is not being applied and help Africans increase their food yields and control the food market there?
But before that, Manny, before that, because Manny, are you planning to leave or are you remaining? Because then if the question is asking if you want to remain, then that question is irrelevant because then you want to remain where you are. So do you want to remain in America or do you want to leave? What's your position?
Over the next 2 years, probably going to the Gambia or Ghana.
Okay, so you're planning to move. Okay, so then, so it's a matter of time for you to move to Africa.
I guess I'm just before I just actually go over there.
Okay, so you guys are on the same page then. So you guys are on the same page. It's just that you're not leaving just yet. Yeah, so I think, okay, so whatever it's doing now, so you're laying the groundwork pretty much, right? You're laying the groundwork, and then you move over. So, okay, so we got that. So that's cool.
Just going to find the economic Marcus Garvey influenced a lot of people, just like Kwame Nkrumah, to start their revolutions.
Someone explained.
Marcus Garvey was doing a lot of trying to build business, trying to do planning and stuff like that. So not to go on a whole history field trip. I would consider myself a futurist.
Wait, so is that
I think we need to actually.
Is that you? Anthony, is that you? Okay, so John, you want to give your position? So two more people, and then we're gonna have to go. So John and D'Anthony, you haven't
All
spoken
right.
yet. John,
Do you even hear me?
I can hear you. Yeah.
All right. Like clearly? All right. So I guess I'll start off with my background. I live in the state of Washington, and one thing I wanted to bring up for a long time was I actually live north of a town that was actually started by a black guy named George Washington. Even not the George Washington, but George Washington. And I found that pretty interesting. I go to college in that town. I've always been interested in education. I've always been interested in race as well, because as I've said when I was just in the comments section, there's this, I was paying attention to all the stuff happening to George Floyd and everything, and it's like, that's really bad and everything. My perspective on all that, actually, my perspective on the question, I'm going to focus on the question instead. Should we go back to Africa? Well, I'm not sure about that personally, especially for me. I was born here. I'm not sure that's the greatest idea, since I know close to nothing about the entire continent and the 50 plus countries. I do like points that say that we should go back there and build it. Living in America, having, all the technology we have and all the education we have, I do think that we could all teach ourselves various different skills and stuff. And if we were to go there, we could try to help them integrate those ideas. But the problem is, as people in the comments are saying, there is immigration policies that they have, so they wouldn't just accept us just for our skin color. Also, a lot of people that were born here, like myself, don't understand the culture in Africa. So it's like integrating into that country just because of our skin color is a little tricky. I also think the whole going back to Africa thing kind of mirrors a group in America that I'm particularly frightened of. Well, not frightened of, but just concerned about, the far right, which I was talking about. A lot of people, they shout white supremacy in the media all the time, and I don't think they understand what real white supremacy is. It's actually very, very dangerous ideology that is gaining a huge traction online, or at least perceivably so, especially on places like 4chan or something like that, in the trolls and stuff. And they always bring up things like evolution, like it has to do with like how certain types of humans evolved, why they perceive humans to be different and everything like that. So basically we have Denisovans, Neanderthals, and Homo sapiens. Were of course Homo sapiens. Some Homo sapiens blended with Neanderthals and Denisovans, and then of course we Africans or African Americans originated in Africa, where we never really left. Just like that's complicated stuff. But it's basically we have this group in Africa, and certain humans move out and populate and migrate to other areas, blending in with other humans that came from Heidelbergensis, but that's evolutionary stuff that I'm not sure a lot of people in the comments would understand. But basically, a lot of these races try to use evolution to try to justify the idea of races being superior and inferior, and it's dangerous. And they also try to use points like mentioned earlier. Obviously, Black countries are all the countries in the African continent are underdeveloped. So in theory, it would be a good idea for us to go back and introduce education that we teach ourselves and integrate it to those countries and build them up ourselves instead of having the assistance of other races. I don't know. It's just complicated stuff. I don't think it's the greatest idea in the world, especially for people that are already living in America. Get back to the topic.
Why? Why? Why is it not a good idea?
But you know what? But I think, look, I think it's a wait. You're talking about moving. If someone wants to move, you think moving is not a good idea. Is that what you're saying, John? If that's your position, then I think it's fine. If I'm not,
I'm saying it depends on your perspective. I'm saying that it could be a good idea, but it could be a bad idea. I mean, obviously, if you've been here for a while or your entire life, you know this country. And like people keep mentioning, we as slaves built this country.
Yeah. John,
So,
I think you're valid. Like, so, Lou Major is asking you why but I'm saying it's your decision, right? So it's, as I said before, I just want to make it super clear. I'm not advocating for anyone to leave or whatever the case is. People have different opinions, and I'm saying, you know what? Platform, let's speak, right? So if that's your position, that's totally fine. And that's something, that's not even something that's debatable, because if you were born in a country and you decide to stay there, is fine. There's no problem whatsoever with that position. I interviewed someone in Japan, and he said something really interesting. And he said as well, he said, you don't decide where you're born, but you can decide where you live. And that's true. And the same thing is true for when someone said you're born looking like your father, but you die looking like your decisions. So we have two choices, right? I was born in Jamaica. I moved to Canada. That was the first place I moved to. That was a decision, right? I never had no choice. I love my country, but still, I wanted to go to Canada. I went to Canada. Now I'm in Japan because we're free agents. We can move wherever legally. You do it, it's fine. Personal decision. Whether it's opportunity, whether it's safety, whether it's whatever the case is, an individual determines where they want to go. You're born to a certain family. Same thing. You make a decision to better your life. You were born in poverty. You want to change it. You made the decisions. You do the work. You change that part of your life. So I don't think someone should say, why do you want to stay? If you want to stay, hey, it's your home, man. Hey, stay and fight.
Yeah, I wanted to talk why, just because I was curious as to why. That's it. I'm not trying to convince anybody, because there are 40 million Black Americans. Not everybody's going to be a good fit. By the way, I do want to push back. I don't want anybody believing this. Not every country in Africa is underdeveloped. That's actually a false statement. But I want to go ahead and say that I'm not trying to convince anybody. I'm simply saying that when we look at our condition and how we are treated, the reason we are treated that way is because of the decisions that we make to not build anything for ourselves. So we are giving our labor and our talent to others and making them rich, rather than building something for ourselves to make ourselves rich. And that leaves us open to exploitation. I'm not trying to convince you.
I agree with that.
I'm a huge advocate for education within Black communities and all that stuff, so we can build ourselves up, so we can build a reputation. Because one of the things that I think about, like the George Floyd stuff, I think the reason why people are so scared of Black people and they have this perception that they keep killing us is because maybe there is some problems within ourselves that give people a reason to be scared of us, like policemen. Like, obviously, someone mentioned the, thugs and hoodlums and stuff.
I'm not sure that kind of rubs me the wrong way a little bit.
That was a stupid statement.
That part.
I kind of want to chime in.
D'Anthony, chime in.
Yeah, can you guys hear me well? I've earphones and that's
not really, but try to put the microphone closer to your mouth.
Okay. Yeah, you know what? Let me see if this might work. Give me just 2 seconds, really quickly.
Oh, I think you made it worse. I think you should have kept your headphones.
I made it worse?
Oh, no, it's good.
You're good. Yeah. Oh, wow, I made it worse.
It's good. No, it's good. It's good.
Okay.
It's good.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, I really wanted to agree. The guy who has his camera off, I'm not sure what your name is, but
I'm 100% with that idea of Africa, to be honest. And the reason why a lot of us have a hard time getting our head around Africa is because of that perception. Even myself, the biggest thing is a lot of people have a trouble with getting out their comfort zone. A lot of people, it's all about comfort zone. You live in America, you know, you have the perception of that you can make a living no matter where you are. You could make money, you could rise up the ranks. But when we think of Africa, we always think that, okay, we're going to be in poverty and we're going to stay in poverty. And so it's because of that. And a lot of us don't want to get up and make that change. A lot of us are used to sitting and having things being done for us. So just like how we built this nation, we can also go and build up Africa and build up perception. And that's a huge deal for me. You know, I work in the medical field, and majority of the people that I work with are obviously white, Asians, you know, Chinese and Indians. And what struck out to me was that when the Chinese, my doctor that I work with, whenever he has a Chinese patient that comes into the room, or even just Asian, it doesn't have to be the same country. It could just be any Asian person that comes into the room. He's very empathetic. He really cares for them. He takes his time with them. You can see it in his eyes and in the way he work with them. Versus if it's, you know, someone else, and it's okay. You know, he's professional, but you can tell he really takes his time with them, and he goes out the way and he goes above and beyond to take care of his person that he doesn't even know. We don't do that with our time. We're very competitive with one another, and it's understandable. You know, we live in a society where we were taught, you know, either you're light skinned and you're supposed to be better, you're dark skinned and you're supposed to be worse. You know, who has good hair, who don't. You know, who is this and that, and we're all always at division with one another. So I think that the biggest solution is to break down those walls of what we've been taught. You know, we have to break down our perception of ourselves. To be honest, a lot of people have self-hatred, which is another reason why it's hard for some of us to go out and mingle and connect with our own. If you don't love yourself, how can you love the next person that's your brother walking down the street? And so I think that's a big deal. And a lot of us who do travel abroad, that's, you know, whether it's China or Japan or anywhere around the world, a lot of us look to escape. And instead of looking to escape, why don't we look to build ourselves? Because people want to escape the reality of living as, I'm a black man, you know, they're always out to get me. I'm a black man, I must be ugly. I'm a black man, you know, I'm always competitive. Like, my black people don't support me. And so I think that's something that has to be broken down. And it takes time, to be honest. And I think that, you know, those who want to stay behind, they got to stay behind. But if we really want to get out there and do it, I really agree with you. I did research on Africa, and I will say that Africa is making lots of progress. From looking at Paul Lumumba to Julius Malema. If you look at South Africa and what they're doing to try to change their country, you will see that they're actually fighting just as hard as we are here. But we don't see it in the media. We don't see people like, you know, the Ghanaian president speeches. We don't see all of that. We just only see what the media here gives us, and we have a perception thinking that Africa is weak when that, in fact, they're really not. And I think that's something that's really hard to break free from. It's a mental blockage. And I think if any of us have the idea of going somewhere of Africa, we'll be frightened about it. So I think that's something that got to be worked on, to be honest. And, you know, if you're with it, you're with it. If you're not, you're not. That's all I'm going to say for now.
Yeah. So any final thoughts, guys? Because we're wrapping up now. Any final thoughts before we?
I want to say that yeah, like it's up to you. It really is up to you. If you're not wrong for wanting to stay in America because you grew up in America, that's your ancestors have lived there for so long, and you're also not wrong for wanting to go somewhere else because you think we as a people are not treated justly in the United States of America. But I will say that if you go somewhere else, you will face challenges as well. Those are things that you have to consider. You go to somewhere in Africa, it's a completely different culture, a different way of speaking, a different way of movement and all that. But if you stay in the United States, you have this to deal with as well. You, as a Black person, you are entitled to be in the United States. You don't have to feel like you're being ran out of the country. Our ancestors built this country. And if you want to stay there, you can stay there. But if you want to move as well and go live somewhere else, know that there are things that you will have to tackle as well. Going back to Africa, like, I don't have a problem with that. But the truth of the matter is I didn't grow up in Africa. And, you know, I don't know. I'm not against it. I'm not against going back to Africa. But if I were in the United States, and I know it's crazy for me to be like, yo, now is the time to fight because I live in Japan. But yo, it's like enough is enough. If I were frontline in the United States, I would be frontline. Like, it's just enough is enough. The voices right now that are screaming out in pain, that are burning things, it's just through anger. And if you do stay in the United States, rioting and looting and protesting and all that is understandable, but it's not the answer. It really is just using your vote, getting involved in politics, figuring out who really stands for your people, who really stands for us, who's going to work for us, because the United States did so much. Actually, the world did so much to hold down Black people. And then they were just like, oh, well, you're free now. Bam, segregation. And have done nothing to actually rectify the wrongs that they have done. And they're just like, well, you know what? Hey, you're doing it now. You're free. You're doing it now. But like, you need to find people that are willing to actually make changes to the detriments that they have done to us as a people. And through your vote, you can do that. If you don't want to vote, if you want to go somewhere else, that's fine. Like, do what you got to do. But it's a time to say enough is enough. And if some trash is happening, you see some trash happening, are you willing to shed your blood? Are you willing to shed the blood of someone else that's oppressing you to make the changes that you want to see? So it's all in your court.
Yeah.
What up?
And the one thing I want to say too, I believe that Black Americans have as much right to America as anyone else.
Yeah.
I believe that they have as equal rights as many, like, because sometimes it's almost like people feel like, well, the land is someone else's. Personally, this is my belief. I believe that Black Americans have as much a right to that country as anyone else.
I'm gonna say this to you, my brother, Black.
Since you both are in Japan, I like the fact that what Ron's been doing was he create these spaces or these meetups, such as these little dinners that you guys have, is really cool, where you guys can get together and connect. When you guys are out there in Japan, is there like any like events or just meetups that you all can just go to in different prefectures or different regions in the country?
Yeah,
because I feel like that's something that's really needed.
There's a sense of community here in Japan. Honestly, we do have a Facebook group. Ranzo has thrown some events as well. But like, I kind of feel like I know a lot of the different. Well, I will say one thing: I'm not opposed to traveling, because coming to Japan has opened my mind so much to the diaspora of Black people worldwide. I've met people from Africa. I've met people from the UK. I've met other people from the Caribbean as well. And like, coming from the United States, I don't know, being my own arrogance, I've always felt like, oh, I don't know, it could have been I was just conditioned to think this way. I'm like, oh, this dude's from Africa, bro. What he talking about? Oh, this dude's from the UK. What the UK got on the US or whatever, you know? But we're all a people worldwide, you know? And like, I'll tell y'all a story about one of my most beautiful experiences here in Japan is I was out drinking with a dude he was from Ghana. He was from Ghana, right? We were out drinking, and we then went to have some ramen after. And at some point, it came into like race, and I was like, man, I want to go to Africa one day, but like, you know, I'm light skinned. I don't really know if they'll accept me. And I'm from Trinidad and Tobago. I'm from the United States as well. And there's always been this conversation that I've heard that Africans look down on other Black people from other countries because we're the son of slaves, right? Is what I heard. And this man looked at me and he was like, yo, bro, you're a Black man. You are a Black man. If you are a Black man, you're always welcome to Africa. You will come into my house. You will eat with me because we are Black men in this world. And bro, I ain't gonna lie. I ain't gonna say I started crying or nothing. But like, that's the sense of community I experienced here in Japan. And I would not have gotten that in the United States of all. So traveling is, of course, a good thing. I co-sign all that.
Okay. Ronzo, I'm going to ask you a question. If you loaned me $150,000 for me to build a business, and then I built that business and it became a great business, and it became a huge business, and because of the money that you gave me, you own like 50% of that business. But when it comes time for me to pay you, I refuse to pay you your money. You're entitled to half of that business, of course, right? But if you say to me, all right, give me my money, and I say to you, no, I'm not going to give you your money, right? Does it matter that you're entitled to half of my business?
I'm taking my money back. That's what I'm doing.
Right. But if you're never willing to take your money back, does it matter that you're entitled to half of my business?
I guess if you don't do something to get it back, I guess it doesn't matter if you're entitled to it because you have to enforce it.
Exactly. So Black Americans are 100% entitled to the United States of America and the wealth in which it possesses. After all, they were in fact bought as slaves. At one point, Black slaves were the most valuable commodity in America. However, what Black Americans have clearly shown is that they are absolutely unwilling to do anything about the process of actually getting the things that they're entitled to. So you could say all day until you're blue in the face how much you're entitled. You probably are. You're absolutely right. But if you're not willing to actually do anything about it, no one cares. Are you going to make them give you what you're entitled to? Are you going to take up arms? Are you going to blow up the Federal Reserve and destroy hospitals and destroy the water supply? Are you going to shut the country down? If the answer is no, then stop talking about what you're owed because you're not going to get it. Now, with that being said, what I am saying is sometimes if you understand you're outgunned and outmatched, which we would be in a place like the United States, we're outnumbered, outgunned. We don't have the arms, they have the numbers, they have everything. What I am simply saying to all of us is we can continue to show the world that we're going to continue to accept unparalleled abuse, disrespect, and humiliation, and never retaliate and do nothing about it, or we can do something about it in the level that we can control. Now, maybe we can't take back what's apparently ours in America. We probably can't, but we can go ahead and build something that belongs to us. We make a lot of excuses about how it's a different culture and how it's far away. We make up all of these excuses exclusively for one place, Africa. Japan has a very different culture. They speak a very hard language to learn. And they're very, very, very hegemonic. Very hegemonic. Japan is probably more racist than America is in terms of how they feel about themselves and how willing they are to accept outsiders. But we're willing to go to Japan and deal with all of that. But we won't make those excuses when it comes to going to Japan or Singapore or Vietnam or Europe. We only make these excuses.
What I would say to that is the perception. I think it's a perception because what you're saying is, I think it's valid in the sense that moving from where you reside to anywhere that's far, whether it's in Asia or Africa, it's a perception, right? So I think that's the problem. So that's why I was asking you before to get to the root of it, like what was your perception of Africa before you went there? Because a lot of people have this perception of the continent that is impoverished and it's all these negative things. But when they think about Asia in terms of the things they've seen through media, it's more appealing. Oh, it's cheaper. Oh, it's advanced. It's this or that. And that's what
Vietnam and Philippines are poor too, and are perceived as poor.
No, so I'm saying when it comes on to the response, that's the root. Because for myself, for instance, as I said before, the videos that Wadamaya does, right? It shows you a different side of Africa that you haven't seen before. If you've never been to the continent, you have no idea. So those videos help. So the thing is, for people who have that mindset that this place is impoverished, there needs to be a work. We need to reprogram it, maybe, right? We need to reverse that programming that we've received by seeing what the reality is, and then people might warm up to it in that sense. Look, bro, I'm pro-Africa 110%. I'm not saying I'm not going to go. I'm visiting Africa this year or next year. I'm 100% for visiting or even moving to Africa, whatever the case is, right? If I don't want anyone to look at me and say whatever, because that's when I ask questions, there's a reason. I need to make sure the conversation keeps moving. I ask questions that might not be my own, but someone else's. I want people to understand that. So I'm not against it, but it's a perception. And that's why I think some people have this reluctance when it comes on to moving to Africa, bro. From what I've seen, I'm telling my wife has like maybe 5 countries that we want to visit, right? And I'm not, as I said before, if it wasn't COVID-19, I would be in Africa November, December this year. But next year, I'm going to be in some countries in Africa. But that's what I'm saying. It's not that I don't think people hate it because we're all black people, bro. I think it's what we've been fed about. That is the same thing with the perception of black people. Media has done us a number, bro.
It has. It absolutely has. What I'm saying is that at this particular juncture now, which we could all agree that media has done us a number and continues to do us a number and will always continue to do us a number because it is white-owned media and they are going to bash anything black. They'll bash anything that we make, and then then they'll go ahead and do it. It's hilarious. But my whole entire point is we don't have that same excuse anymore, because now it's out there. We're seeing it, but you're still hearing the same kind of excuses. What I think technology has done now is it's removed the veil and excuses for all Black people everywhere. We don't have the same, oh, I am so oppressed, woe is me excuse anymore. At some point, you have to stop being a victim.
I
And,
agree
you know, like,
I
I'm tired of being a victim. That's what I'm saying.
We need to.
Understood.
So just to wrap up my conversation, move if you want to, leave if you want to. I don't care about that. But there's a lot of money to be made out here in these networks. You do not have to wait to go somewhere to join these networks. Go talk to somebody in Ghana. Go talk to an architect in Ghana, online or something like that. Say, hey, this is the specs I want to do for whatever I want to do. Have a chat online. It's instant. Like, you have these connections out here. So we need to utilize these tools so we can feel quicker versus saying, hey, should I leave? Should I go? If I do leave, what do I do there? It should be, okay, if I'm buying a plane ticket to go to wherever I want to go, just believe I have a network when I get there to do whatever I need to do.
Well, I think like what you're saying though, like, I mean, I understand like we have the network and you could like just work from wherever and build, you know, support each other. But at the end of the day, my dude over there in Africa, they're saying that like the money that you earn is going to go to likely the American government, which has their knee in the back of our necks. So going to Africa would be because you're just building up African countries, you're building up the continent and all that. So, but like, I fully agree with you. If you want to leave, but also you can't just build within the United States and create wealth that way. But taxes, when it comes to taxes and all that, going to go back to America, and that's the problem, you know.
We all have a responsibility we all have a responsibility, honestly, as Black people, as individuals. We have a responsibility as ourselves, no matter we're in America or Africa, no matter where we're at, is we need to use our own individual power, our own individual strength to build that connection. If we need to go, let's say, for example, I'm in healthcare, right? When I become a doctor, what I will do is I'll start to build groups or clubs or networking for other Black people who want to also get into thoracic surgery. There's not a lot of Black people in thoracic surgery. Or if you're in the media, use your own power to reach out to your own people as well. So it's like, it doesn't matter where you're at. We have that responsibility. If we're not doing anything with our own skills and talents, we're just wasting life. I mean, what's the point? I feel like we were born to be Black people for a reason. And whether you call it God or the universe or something, we're here to make a difference. And we got to use this life that we have to make an impact. And if you're going to sit there all day and just complain, then that's up to you. You're just wasting your life away. You got to remember who you are. So at this point, you're in America. Start those groups. So one of my solutions is, if I'm going to go out there to Japan or anywhere, I was going to do cookouts. You know, every month I was going to have a cookout in each prefecture, barbecues or meetups where Black people would go and, you know, interact and connect with their businesses, their schools, or just anything. So I think that's the root of it. From looking at my Chinese friends, they all have these big groups. Even when I was in university, I noticed that they had these giant group chats. And there'll be like around 10,000 Chinese people from this city. And they all just post in the group chat what their business is, what they're doing, and they all just integrate. I even had a Chinese friend that said that he only wanted roommates with his own people. And you don't have to be to that extreme, but the fact that they have each other's back like that, you know? Yeah. And that's something that Black people don't have. And if we could get that, then it could build our own confidence. We don't have to worry about the media or what people think about us, because the reason why we don't have respect is because we're always fishing for attention from other people. That's the reason why we have Black people out here who are Uncle Toms, who really will suck up to any white. They'll say the most outlandish things. They'll literally justify murder just because they get the clout from white people. And it's because of self-hate. We need to stop looking at other people for our own confidence and just stop caring about what people think about us, what they think of Africa, or what they think of your skin color, and do your own thing for your own people. And once we start living for ourselves and stop caring about what people think of us, then we'll get that respect. Because I noticed that it worked. Nobody will ever say anything to me. I know myself. I love my own self. So
I want to say one quick thing, and that's
go ahead. Yeah.
There's 40,000 years of human civilization that we know of. For 38,000 of them, this is very important, for 38,000 of them, Africa was the center of the world. The most powerful countries, the most powerful nations, the most powerful societies, the center of civilization, the center of science, universities, education in the world for 38,000 of the 40,000 years of human civilization has been in Africa. The first university was in Africa. The first writing system is Africa. Africans invented mathematics, medicine, trigonometry. Africans civilized the Europeans not once, but twice, the East and the West. So I think people need to start understanding, my brother, on the whole thing of saying that maybe there's something about us that makes white people want to kill us. There is. It is our superiority and their inferiority complex to us. So when you are insecure in your position, and I would suggest you read the book that says The Birth of Homo Deus, written by a white man. Go read it. When a person in power is insecure of their position, they are constantly seeking for threats and to dominate anybody or anything that they perceive as a threat. And the number one thing that is constantly perceived as a threat by white people are black men. And their history shows it. So I suggest you guys go ahead and start learning your history and start being proud of who you are, rather than kowtowing to somebody who wishes they were you.
Can I say one last? Oh, sorry.
One last thing. The biggest sign of worship is duplication and copying. Who is the most copied and duplicated people in the world?
Exactly.
That means the world worships us, son. So stop looking down on yourself. You sound pathetic.
Can I say one last thing? Basically, I wanted to bring out kind of a confession that I was mostly raised in white communities and, of course, listened to a lot of white media or just regular media. And I kind of, the George Floyd thing was like a wake-up call sort of to kind of be more active in my people. I appreciate this opportunity to be here, mostly because it was a learning experience. I don't do this often, so I get very nervous and foolish. But
you good, bro. You good, bro.
Yeah, but I agree with all of you in some ways and disagree in some ways. But I like learning. I like having more knowledge to help with my people. I don't feel like I've done enough for my people, and I want to do that in the future, going onward. So I appreciate listening to all of you and speaking with all of you.
Yeah, man. Like, we appreciate you coming on. So you know what? So we're gonna conclude. But if anyone wants to reach out, and if there's anyone that wants to do anything of significance, send us, drop a message on whether it's Facebook or the BackXJP right across. I just dropped the link to our Instagram. You can find us on Facebook as well, the Black Experience Japan, the group. Because like I'm trying to we want to move into a place of solutions, right? There's a there's a lot of talk. Like a lot of us have ideas and stuff like that. So I really want to I guess to do whatever we can to facilitate whatever, right? So reach out, feel free to reach out. Those of you guys who want to move, if you want to move as well, reach out as well. So we can give you guys some help. But yeah, that's I wanted to pose the question based on conversations I've had inside Japan, outside of Japan, so that you guys can come on and share. And I think I've learned a lot as well, because some people come out with different ideas and just different positions, and I think I've grown just having the conversation, listening to most of you guys speak, and that's what I wanted to accomplish. And I'm pretty sure people who are watching as well felt the same way, right? Thank you guys for coming on. I appreciate it. I think we'll do this again. Just look out for the notification, subscribe, hit that bell notification thing. And we want to move beyond just like dialogue. It's definitely important, but we got to move into actions, because one thing I believe, I think each of us know the problems that ails the community. We all know it. Right. And I think all of us, believe it or not, are a part of it, because if we're not the solution, we're part of the problem. And it sounds away, it does sound away, right? So I think each of us at some level are guilty. If we're not being a part of the solution, then there's only one other thing we can be, and it's a part of the issue, and we need to remedy that. So that's the goal, guys. So hopefully this is a step in the right direction. and hopefully something come of just all that we're all doing individually and collectively.
Solving a problem is recognizing the problem and everything.
Indeed.
True.
Indeed, man. Guys, stay safe. And
Yeah, big up Ronzo, big up everybody in here. Thank you so much for giving me this opportunity to speak. If you want to check me out, I'm on YouTube as well as Gizmatic. But yeah, just if you do what's so, first of all, support our people, be strong. We're great people. Look at how much we've just done. But yeah, man, Ronzo. Before I go on a rant, big up Ronzo, big up everybody here. So much to absorb. I've learned a lot from this conversation. I'm very, very thankful. And yeah, man, all of you stay safe out there. Stay strong. It's always darkest before the dawn. And yeah,
indeed.
Strong,
and those of you guys
big
who,
up,
and those of you guys who are trying to call, because I know there's a lot of people. Forgive me if we never got to everyone. There's an eternal queue. But when we do it again, we'll have you guys on. So just be sure to call in. But yeah, sorry I could not get to everyone. I apologize. But guys, thank you so much. Okay, take care, guys. Thanks for coming on.
Respect.
All right, bless.